of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I think for far too long in this country, millions of people felt as though they weren't represented at all by the establishment media.
GB News was needed because there literally was no other voice. Everyone was saying the same thing.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
But journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
Charlie Peters, he gave a voice to the victims of grooming gangs, and now, of course, it's led to a national inquiry.
GB News exists to make sure those concerns are put forward and people feel as though what they want to ask is put to those in power.
We don't take orders from anyone. We ask the questions our viewers and listeners want answering.
I know what's actually being discussed by my family and my friends. Us ordinary, hard-working British people have had enough. We've had enough.
They're fed up with the same old establishment nonsense. Everything that we do is opening up conversations that others are afraid to go at.
Why are you illegally bringing people into Britain?
That is our job. Our job is to get to the truth.
If it's important to you watching or listening at home, then it's important to us as well.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Good afternoon. Oh, you caught me in mid-grimace. Good afternoon. It's midday on Saturday, the 1st of November. Pinch punch, first day of the month. This is the weekend on GB News.
I'm absolutely determined to restore honesty and integrity to government, because I think that is core to ensuring that people appreciate that politics can be a force for good.
Yeah, remember when Keir Starmer said that in the Rose Garden in summer? Well, that was a great one, wasn't it? Pressure now continues to mount on Chancellor Rachel Reeves, with politicians now demanding Southwark Council step in and take action over her London rent scandal. And campaigners are descending on major cities across the UK to mark 199 days since the Supreme Court's ruling that gender is based on biology and, not certification or self-identification, with women's groups demanding immediate application of the ruling. We'll be there live.
Well, 199 days on, campaigners say they have waited long enough. For women's rights activists, it's about legal clarity. For trans rights activists, it's about inclusion. So far today, it has been calm and quiet, but protests expected well into the afternoon.
Well, we're about an hour here away from the first women's groups to begin their protest, and of course they are going to be met by counter-protesters here outside Holyrood. Women in Scotland not happy that the Scottish Government has yet to impart the guidance updates on single-sex basis.
And Andy, formerly known as Prince, has had his royal title stripped and been kicked out of his Royal Lodge home. Now, reports this morning are also suggesting he could be in line for a six-figure payout. How lovely.
Make no mistake, this plan means migration will fall. That's a promise.
Never make promises you can't keep. That's a motto for every single politician, isn't it? Border Force staff tackling the Channel migrant crisis are to go, yes, you've guessed it, on strike. That's despite over 37,000 migrants crossing the Channel so far this year, an increase of 25% on this time last year. I love this story. Now, a £52 million road to nowhere is being built through the Amazon jungle, funded by, checking my notes here, oh yeah, yous lot, the British taxpayer. I'm asking, are we wasting money on foreign aid? And it is All Hallows, thank you very much, and happy All Hallows Day. We'll be taking a look at all the celebrity Halloween costumes from last night. Stay tuned to find out who is behind that makeup masterpiece on your screens now. It's not me, by the way. I look like that normally. I'm Dawn Newsroom, and the weekend starts right here and now. Yeah, it's All Hallows today, so I hope you're having a good day, and I hope you had a lovely Halloween night last night and did some trick-and-treating, did some pumpkin carving. I was notoriously bad at that yesterday, but I'm not going back there. It's humiliating. But today is lunchtime. I love your company on the lunchtime. Thank you so much for joining me. I know it's a busy, busy day, but join me. The weather isn't that great, so I may as well sit and watch the telly. Or if you're out and about, I'm on the radio as well, no escape. And the way to get involved in the conversation, because it is all about you, is gbnews.com/your say. We can talk about whatever you want, yeah, but you know, whatever, I don't care. Let's just chill. It's a Saturday, it's the weekend. You know how it works. Get in touch, let's have a natter. But all of that is after the headlines with, of course, it's that Saturday girl lock-in. Bethany Elsey with your headlines.
Dawn, thank you. Good afternoon. Here's your top stories from the GB Newsroom at 12:04. It's reported Andrew Mountbatten will receive a six-figure one-off payment to cover his move out of Royal Lodge in Windsor to private accommodation in Sandringham. He's also expected to receive an annual salary thought to be several times higher than his £20,000 a year Navy pension. It follows the removal of his Prince title over his ties to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Newly revealed emails show Andrew told Epstein it would be, in his words, good to catch up in person months after he was released from prison. Andrew denies all the allegations against him. One of the strongest storms to ever make landfall in the Caribbean has left behind at least 50 people dead and nearly 500,000 without power. Hurricane Melissa, rated a Category 5 storm, was the first major hurricane to directly hit Jamaica since 1988. Emergency food distributions have started and many survivors are still searching for shelter. US forecasters are estimating it's caused around £40 billion worth of damage. A Reform UK councillor has defected to the Conservative Party after becoming uncomfortable with his former party. The Dartford Borough councillor, James Buchan, won his seat for Reform in a July by-election. He left following the announcement of Reform's plans to axe indefinite leave to remain, saying the move would create a huge amount of fear and anxiety. 5 people have been injured after a passenger train crashed into a lorry on the crossings in the Netherlands. Security camera footage shows the moment a passenger train hit the truck at the level crossing in the Dutch town of Metteren. The truck appeared to stop and reverse before becoming trapped between the barriers seconds before impact. Federal judges in the US have ruled that President Donald Trump's administration cannot suspend funding for a program that helps nearly 42 million Americans afford food. The rulings come as Democrats and Republicans trade blame for a month-long government shutdown. The stalemate could jeopardize so-called SNAP benefits, which cost around $8 billion every month, and payment is due to be renewed today. The judges have ordered the White House to use contingency funds. Canada's Prime Minister says he's apologised to Donald Trump over a TV advert that criticised the use of tariffs. The political ad featured Republican icon and former President Ronald Reagan saying tariffs caused trade wars and economic disaster. In response, the US president announced last week that he was terminating trade talks with Canada and increasing tariffs on goods by 10%. Mark Carney acknowledged it caused offence and said he didn't want the ad to be broadcast in the first place. And the Premier League has blamed Europe's governing body UEFA for the lack of top-flight fixtures on Boxing Day this year. Manchester United's home game against Newcastle is the only match on the 26th of December, a day which is traditionally packed with action. The Premier League says the schedule has been forced on them by the expansion of European competitions. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you very much, Bethany. Right, OK, and now let's get straight into today's story, shall we? As the nation braces itself for the budget next month. I know, it seems like a lifetime away, and we have got news stories every single day. I've actually got a red box now where I'm filing all the stories in them. It's getting bigger and bigger by the day. In any case, it is looming, and it is understood that Rachel Reeves is planning to raid pension tax perks. Well, that's the latest attempt to plug a hole in, yes, the public finances. The Chancellor could collect as much as £4 billion a year by restricting how much workers can put into their retirement pots under salary sacrifice schemes. However, officials have warned it could lead to millions of average workers losing hundreds of pounds. Well, OK, right, OK, so we are... Right, OK. Sorry, we're having a bit of a communications about who I'm talking to. I've got a very distracting Olivia Utley with me in the studio, and she looks gorgeous this morning, as we said. However, also looking gorgeous is former Mayor of Middlesbrough and political commentator Andy Preston, who I'm going to talk to first, evidently. Who knows what's going on? Andy, good to talk to you, also looking very gorgeous. Rachel Reeves, another day. Seriously, I'll show you, right? Where is it? This... It's Rachel Reeves' tax promises and stories put out from the last 5 days. I mean, we've still got a month to go.
Oh, Dawn, and these stories are going to continue coming. Look, what they're doing now is they're scrabbling around. This is, to be fair to the government, Dawn, they are in an extraordinarily bad position, the worst position that any government has been in for decades now. We spend too much, we expect too much, we want better services, but we want lower taxes. And the truth is, in the 90s and early 2000s, economic growth was strong enough to generate the taxes to get better services and more money for the things we like. Growth has flatlined for a while, so the only way we've kept things going is by borrowing more. Well, the chickens are coming home to roost, so we're going to have to pay more tax or slash spending, or maybe a bit of both. So what Reeves is doing is floating loads of ideas. Everything's going to be unpopular. It's working out what's least unpopular. And pensions and the tax benefits of investing in your pension might be a good place for her to start. Let's see what the feedback is. It's not going to be good either way.
My absolute favourite story today, Andy, because, I mean, if you can't laugh at this by now, right, you are going to go completely insane. My favourite story today is that Rachel Reeves is set to slash spending by up to £5 billion a year. But the cuts will only start in the next Parliament.
Yeah, it's great, John. It's. I'm sorry to be rude. It's mental. You know, the government spends about £1 trillion a year, so £5 billion is literally almost nothing. It's a lot to us. It's nothing in the big picture. Do you know what they have to do? They have to bite the bullet and cut welfare spending. We spend 30% of all that money, Dawn, something like $300 billion a year. If we reduce it by just half of 1% a year, it would save 15 to 18 billion by the end of this term, which is about thirds of the gap she's got to close. But governments, especially Labour, are terrified of doing that because of the backlash from their backbenchers.
I mean, she seems to have survived, or do you think she has, Andy, the fiasco over her house and whether she had a licence to rent it out, etc., etc.? I mean, that seems to have been decided on in 48 hours. Nothing to see here. No one has done anything wrong. Let's all move on, despite the fact what she actually did is a criminal offence, and ignorance is no defence in the eyes of the law. But do you think she's got away with that? Do you think that's going away now, or do you think there's more to come on that one?
Well, first of all, I would say you never know, but my gut feel, Dawn, is that she's got away with it. You know what? There's a lot of misrepresentation about this in the press, saying that it was the estate agent's fault. It's not, you know. She is legally responsible for submitting that form, just like your own tax return. You might pay an accountant to bring it together, but you are legally responsible for the contents and making sure it's submitted on time. I think in the great scheme of things, it's not the worst crime. It's an admin error, I think. But for Rachel Reeves and for all of us, it's clearly one of a whole string of dodgy things that have gone on, whether it's accepting tickets for concerts, free clothes, plagiarising Wikipedia pages for your own stuff, your CV being somewhat fabricated. Not the biggest crime in the world, but I think the pressure's building. But the reason she won't go in the short term, in my opinion, is she's so closely linked with Starmer. They're a double act, and it's exceedingly difficult for him to get rid of her.
I mean, isn't that the bottom line with this one, Andy? The fact is that PMs can't get rid of their chancellors because that means they are toast as well.
Totally. I actually think they're both toast on medium term. There's no comeback on it. There's no coming back from this position. Growth is too low. There's going to be more tax rises this year, probably next. And public pessimism about the future isn't going away. And when you're a politician in power, if the public's pessimistic, you're finished. And Boris Johnson was great at whipping up optimism. Some would say it was false optimism, but he created optimism. Starmer and Reeves have done the opposite. They instill pessimism wherever they go.
Brilliant. Always a strong opinion from Andy Preston there, a former mayor of Middlesbrough and political commentator. Andy, thank you so much for joining us today. OK, now I've kept her. She's not going anywhere, by the way. Olivia Utley, who's just been presenting marvellously, one would say, a 2.5-hour show herself, is still in the studio and now is going to talk more about... Olivia, though, thank you so much for staying. I love that dress, by the way. I've got to talk about this story in the Mail today, right? I said when we introduced the show that what has Rachel Reeves got in common with the back end of a bus? Lots of comments, by the way. I can't read any of them out. I'm sorry, but I might later on. But Olivia, this licence for a house story, I mean, it's still filling the pages in newspapers. And in Southwark, which is the London borough in which she lives and where this law-breaking, because that's what it is, happened, there was a huge publicity campaign saying, all residents, this is what's going to happen. If you're renting your house out, you need a licence. And those adverts were literally on the back end of buses.
It's amazing, isn't it? I don't know how she could possibly have missed this. Obviously, on the face of it, it looks quite similar to the Angela Rayner scandal. I think what's odd about this story is Rachel Reeves has essentially made herself look worse than she actually is. When the story first came out, she said she had no idea that she was supposed to have a rental licence. And then these emails between her husband and the lettings agency were revealed, which showed that actually the lettings agency said, would you like us to apply for this licence on your behalf? And Rachel Reeves' husband, Nicholas Joycey, said, yes, please, go ahead. The letting agency then failed to do that. Well, that is a lot more excusable than the original defence which Rachel Reeves came out with, which was that she didn't know that these licences were needed. Odd breakdown of communication, it seems, between Rachel Reeves and her own husband.
Were they not talking to one another? I mean, you know, having a chat while they're washing up the dishes, I'm assuming one of them does washes up.
Given what happened to Angela Rayner, you would have thought that the Chancellor would be pretty keen to get her story very straight before she came out with her defence to Keir Starmer. It sounds as though she is under so much pressure at the moment. It wasn't very long ago that she was seen crying in the House of Commons. She's probably dreading the budget at the end of November as much as the rest of us all are. And perhaps she just reacted in a sort of knee-jerk, instinctive reaction, trying to defend herself without really thinking through what she should say, which I think is quite worrying for the budget. I mean, we were all expecting this budget to be catastrophic for public finances, worrying for our own purse strings. At the moment, it seems as though the Exchequer is briefing out that income tax might rise. It would be the first time, amazingly, since 1975 that the headline rate of income tax has gone up. There are people who are now suggesting that perhaps Rachel Reeves is doing all these briefings, getting that word out, and so that when the budget does happen, she can not raise income tax, and then at least all the other measures won't seem quite so bad by comparison. Perhaps this is just the Treasury's way of managing expectations.
I mean, as we were talking to Andy just now, I mean, it's impossible for Keir Starmer to get rid of her because PMs, Prime Ministers, just do not get rid of the Chancellors. Because it's accepting that they're being useless as well.
Well, exactly, because the Prime Minister is the Lord Treasury, top of the Exchequer, basically. His top job is controlling the nation's finances. He chooses a Chancellor who will carry out his economic plan. It does not work to get rid of your Chancellor. But Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer are in a very, very tight spot here because they promised again and again, and lots of advisers said that it wasn't wise over the course of the election campaign not to raise taxes on working people, so national insurance, income tax or VAT. They are now desperately trying to find some kind of loophole to get around that. So there's talk that at the last budget we saw that the Chancellor raised national insurance but on employers. Well, obviously that feeds down
that is really
to the
splitting
employee,
hairs,
but it
isn't
sounds as though they're going to do something quite similar this time round with a raid on pensions, costs, which is one way of sort of raising taxes on working people because it will cost the average worker £210 a year, but without raising any of those headline taxes, which would be blatant manifesto breaches.
Yeah, I mean, the other story floated around today was wealthy Britons who leave UK face settling up charges, so she's going to fine you for leaving the leaving the country.
Well, it's not surprising that she's trying to do something about that because the number of billionaires leaving the UK is just going up and up. It started when the Chancellor introduced the non-DOMS tax. Obviously, that was a Conservative policy, actually, which Labour then went and introduced. But we are seeing, you know, hundreds of billionaires a year leaving Britain. And also, you have this problem. I've been saying this morning that I think there's an issue with a perfect storm for the high street, which we already know the British high street is already in trouble. But with minimum wage going up, it becomes more expensive to employ people in hospitality jobs. You've got business rates still sky high. The Conservatives have said that they would abolish business rates altogether. Not sure if that's financially plausible, but you know it would help. It would shove in the right direction, if you like. And then you've got this workers' rights bill, which will make it much harder for employers to take anyone on. Plus that rise in national insurance tax. It's basically going to be very, very difficult to employ anyone on around minimum wage. And as we know, hospitality jobs really depend on those people.
Rachel might be heading to the pub very soon, the way she's going. To be honest, thank you very much, Olivia Utley. Always good to see you. Thank you very much. OK, now, well, let me know what you think about all of that. gbnews.com/your-say. Are you feeling optimistic about the budget? I can guess the answer on that one. OK, now, the other big story today. Women's rights groups are protesting across the UK, demanding the immediate application of the landmark Supreme Court decision. You know, the one that told women we were women, hey? Earlier this year, the Supreme Court ruled that the terms woman, man and sex in the Equality Act 2010 do refer to biological sex at birth, which in practice means that transgender people have no right to access single-sex spaces. However, campaigners are saying that the ruling has not been applied yet. So let's go now and talk to a GB News reporter, Sam Francis, and a GB News Scotland reporter, Tony Maguire. I think we're going to Sam first, are we? Sam, what's happening where you are now?
Dawn, good afternoon. Yes, we're live in central London, just moments away from Parliament Square, where the main protest is taking place. We will, of course, head over there later this afternoon and show you the scene there, where a significant number, possibly thousands of women's rights and feminist activists are gathering, now 199 days on from that Supreme Court ruling over the legal definition of what is a woman. That ruling back in April, now 7 months ago, near enough, means that a woman is defined in law by their biological sex at birth and therefore not by gender identity. That does, however, mean that transgender women are not included in that category. Now, as you can see behind me, we'll just take a look at the scenes of this counter-protest taking place. So far this morning, relatively small, estimating around 100, maybe 150 people gathered so far. A sea of pink and blue banners and chants is growing louder as the hours move on. But we know that the demands from the pro-women's rights protesters is quite straightforward. They want to see hospitals, schools, prisons and sports bodies immediately implement that Supreme Court ruling. But it does mean that for counter-protesters here today, they feel excluded, they feel victimised, and they believe that they have a right to those public spaces. We are expecting a growing number of people gathering here in central London throughout this afternoon. Police so far keeping things calm, keeping things cordial, but we will keep across any developments and, as I say, take you later over to Parliament Square where the main protest is taking place.
Thank you very much, Sam, and we will be going back to Sam throughout the afternoon. And now let's go up to Scotland, where our reporter Tony Maguire is talking to us. Tony, what's happening there?
Yeah, good afternoon. Well, you know, we're about an hour away from the beginning of the protest, but 45 minutes actually, and of course women's rights campaigners are descending on Holyrood to really complain about the fact that the Scottish Government's slow response, glacial response you might say, to issuing updated guidance in the wake of the Supreme Court ruling. And I'm joined by one of those women today who have let women speak in England, but of course we have Women Won't Wished up in Scotland. Claire Blom, thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. Give us a sense of what you're here for today and what your message is to the Scottish Government.
We really would just like the government to comply with the law. You wouldn't think that would be too much to ask, but apparently it's too much to hope for that our lawmakers would actually comply with the law of the land.
And of course, for many people, the Supreme Court decision was seen as a final judgment, a unanimous decision by 3 judges. That was supposed to be the end of it, but of course 199 days later, we're here now. You know, what's the frustration like, and you know, among women's rights groups across the UK, not just here in Scotland, at seeing the slow reaction time for things like hospitals and prisons?
It's not right that women in hospital, female prisoners, are still being housed with men. That's not acceptable. It's unlawful, and our government and other institutions are allowing this to happen, and it needs to stop, and it needs to stop now.
And of course, we've got a few women's rights groups today, and these 199 days protests are happening all across the UK, one in Cardiff and one in London. You know, counter-protesters are obviously expected in numbers at all 3. You know, what has that relationship been like since the Supreme Court decision?
It has been more unhinged than it was up to this point. And up to this point, we suffered violence. One of our directors was punched repeatedly in the face by a trans rights activist. We take daily abuse, we get rape threats, we get death threats. And that has ramped up since the Supreme Court judgment. It's not acceptable that we should be abused in this way simply for asking governments and organisations to comply with the law.
Now, Claire, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. It gives you a little sense, I guess, of what today's protest is going to entail. We are about 45 minutes away outside Holyrood, so we'll be sure to bring you all the latest updates over the next couple of hours.
Thank you very much, Tony. That's GB News Scotland reporter Tony Maguire there on the women's rights protests and recognition of the Supreme Court ruling on what a woman is. Hey, in any case, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's show.
Now, make no mistake, this plan means migration will fall. That's a promise.
OK, never make promises you can't keep. Border Force staff tackling the Channel migrant crisis are to go on strike. That's despite over 37,000 migrants crossing the Channel so far this year, an increase of 25% on this time last year. But after the break, Andy, as we can now call him, had his royal titles stripped and has been kicked out of his Royal Lodge home. Now, reports this morning are also suggesting he could be in line for a 6-figure payout. Gets better, doesn't it? All of that and much more to come. This is GB News at Britain's News Channel. Don't you dare go too far. I'll see you soon.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
360,000 people are without a home, thousands of whom are on the street, but most are living in terrible, terrible conditions, bedsits, awful B&Bs above rows of shops and hostels. 160,000 of those are children. Can you imagine trying to perform at school or in your job? And this is a crisis, Dawn, and it costs billions. That's the worst thing. We spend about £4 billion a year dealing with this, and it's just getting worse and worse.
Well, let's talk about those 160,000 children, because that's the thing that affected me when I read it this morning. Couldn't believe the numbers of children that are homeless in this country. How is this happening, Andy?
What's happening, Ellie? It's complex, but the biggest single issue, the simplest issue, is that we do not have enough homes. We don't build enough. To put it really simply, if you have a population of 10 people and you have 9 homes, somebody is going to be without a home, and that's what we've got. So when we don't build enough, somebody loses out. It's gone on for decades, by the way. Somebody loses out, and it's always going to be the poorest. It's the people who live the most chaotic lives, or have the least money, are going to be at that bottom and falling out of it. And it's absolute chaos. Ellie, the worst thing about this, it's really fixable. We can get people off the streets. We can create the medium-term accommodation to transition people from the streets, from shelters, into more permanent places. We can do this by reprioritising some of the 2.8 billion. We spend 2.8 billion quid just sticking people into really expensive overnight B&Bs. As I say, awful, crummy places above kebab shops where kids are growing up for months on end and struggling with lack of space. We can fix it, but there just isn't the political will.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Newsome. It is not that you need to know, it's coming up to 7:30 midday on Saturday, I believe. Thank you very much for your company. Hope you had a wonderful Halloween last night and you're not too hungover. Yes, you know who I'm talking to out there. Loads of you getting in touch, by the way, certainly about the marches going on, which we'll be covering about women's rights and versus the whole Supreme Court ruling, and why isn't it been put into approval yet properly. And Linda says, pending approval for stating the truth that men can never be any kind of women, with one of those emojis, and lots of you agreeing, and I couldn't agree more. Any case, I'm Dawn Newsome, and this is the weekend, just in case you were wondering what you were doing. Now, we have to do this, right? I know, bear with me, I know. But Andy, you know, the bloke formerly known as Prince, could be in line for a large one-off payment and even an annual stipend to stop him from overspending in his new life as a commoner. A new poll shows that an overwhelming majority of Brits, 79%, back the King's decision to strip his brother of all his titles. Meanwhile, the government says it has no plans to pass a law removing Andy, as I'm calling him from now, from the line of succession, meaning he's technically still 8th in line, I think it is, to the throne. But should taxpayers, that's us, really be footing the bill for a fallen royal? And should he still be entitled to that crown? Joining me now is former press secretary to the Queen, Elisa Anderson. Elisa, good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, I didn't know he was still 8th in line to the throne, which is a bit shocking. But we are paying him money now to just go away. Why can't we just put him in the Tower of London, chop his head off?
I don't think the Tower would want him, to be honest.
Yeah, there is that.
I don't think we as a taxpayer are actually funding him. The King will be funding his lifestyle and his accommodation privately, so he'll have accommodation on the Sandringham estate. There are plenty of accommodation cottages there. It's 20,000 acres, so there's plenty of room for him. And the King will be funding him privately. But I don't know what life he's going to have. You know, it's from a prince, he's now going to be the pauper.
Well, I mean, hardly a pauper, really. I mean, we're talking about £500,000 here. And let's face it, some of those cottages on the Sandringham estate aren't exactly, you know, 2 up, 2 downs, are they?
Well, when I've stayed at the Sandringham estate, exactly what it was, a 2 up, 2 down.
Oh, right, OK. Well, there you go. But look, there are lots of people watching and listening today who are saying, right, I'm getting the world's smallest violin out for this man. He has behaved appallingly. He has lied about what he's done. His relationships with dubious people is out there in print for all of us to see. The King has at least reacted, but should have reacted faster on this one.
I think, it's very difficult, from a PR perspective, and I've been in PR for 30 odd years. This story has been running for 15 years. No one wants to see that. And even going into the shops this morning and buying the newspapers, every newspaper has it on the front page. It's, it's rammed full. It's a completely PR nightmare. But the King did act decisively. And I think sort of two statements that really, really sort of struck me were the first, they used lapses in judgment, which is the first time that's been used, and then ending the statement by, our thoughts are with those victims of abuse. And I think that's a really, really powerful, strong message that the King sent, and rightly so.
As a former press secretary to the late Queen, what do you think she would have made of this?
Oh, my gosh. The late Queen was all about duty and service. It was about the people and not self. And I think she would have been, appalled, but I think she would have acted too, because, she did put service and duty before self. But nobody, I'm a mother, nobody wants to have, see your children fall from grace in such a spectacular way. And he must feel utterly humiliated, and rightly so.
I mean, you obviously have spent a lot of time around the royal family. I mean, did you ever get to meet Andrew and know him well at all?
I did meet him on numerous occasions. Although I worked for the late monarch, I had a relationship with most members of the royal family, but not really on a day-to-day basis.
OK. And how would you describe your relationship with him when you did meet him?
Professional. We are there to give advice. You can lead a horse to water, as you know, Dawn, but they don't necessarily drink it.
I was going to say, that's the problem. Do you think Andrew took advice he was given in any area of his life?
Well, I have to say, if I was the press secretary when that disastrous Newsnight interview went on, I would certainly advise him not to have done it.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that was the beginning of the end, wasn't it?
It was.
Asa Anderson, thank you very much for joining us. That's a former press secretary to Queen Elizabeth. Thank you very much there for joining us. OK, I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News, and there's loads more coming up on today's show. But let us know what you think about that as well. All the stories we're talking about today, gbnews.com/your say. But coming up, we'll be taking a look at all the celebrity Halloween costumes from last night. Did you dress up? It's good fun, isn't it? And who's behind that one? I mean, that is amazing. That is exactly how I look first thing in the morning, to be fair, without the makeup, though. But first, let's get the news headlines with a young lady who never looks like that, I'm sure. Bethany Elsey, here she is.
The headlines from the GB Newsroom. It's reported Andrew Mountbatten Windsor will receive a six-figure one-off payment to cover his move out of Royal Lodge in Windsor, and an annual salary thought to be several times higher than his Navy pension. Hurricane Melissa, one of the strongest storms to ever make landfall in the Caribbean, has left behind at least 50 people dead and nearly 500,000 without power. The Red Cross has transferred the remains of 3 people from Gaza to Israel, but authorities there say they don't belong to any of the missing hostages. Dartford Borough Councillor James Buchan has defected from Reform UK to the Conservative Party after becoming uncomfortable with the announcement to scrap indefinite leave to remain. You're up to date. I'll have more for you at 1 o'clock.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Thank you very much, Bethany. Now, remember, you can let me know your comments on all the stories we're talking about today. And lots of you are getting in touch about the marches, gatherings, protests going on in London and Scotland today about the Supreme Court ruling on what a woman's rights is. Hey, what a woman actually is. And the counter-protests from trans activists. And Catherine has got in touch and said, that's a horrific story. A trans activist punching someone in the face, yet they're demanding to be allowed into women's spaces. Outrageous. Lots of you agreeing with Catherine. Remember, make like Catherine. Get in touch. gbnews.com/your say, and I will read as many out as I possibly can on all the subjects we're talking about today. Now, there's loads more coming up on today's show.
Now, make no mistake, this plan means migration will fall. That's a promise.
Anyone else getting a mental image of Pinocchio here? Never make promises you can't keep. Border Force staff tackling the Channel migrant crisis are to go on strike. That's despite over 37,000 migrants crossing the Channel so far this year. An increase of a mere, 25% on this time last year. All of that and much more to come. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. Don't you dare move a muscle. I'll see you soon.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. To start off November, it is quite a changeable and mixed theme. We do have low pressure up towards the northwest of the UK, bringing a slightly unsettled genre throughout this weekend. Lots of isobars on the chart here indicating some quite blustery winds for much of the UK. Some spells of rain at times, particularly for the Northern Isles throughout much of today. Elsewhere across the UK, the rain will be a touch more showery in nature, so there will still be some brighter interludes in between. But some of these showers, particularly across Wales, southwest England later on today, could turn quite heavy with some hail, maybe some thunder in the mixture as well. Generally, though, the further east you are, parts of northeastern England and eastern Scotland getting away with the best of that sunshine. Temperatures today generally peaking around 10-11 degrees Celsius for Scotland and Northern Ireland. Further towards the south, we'll be climbing towards highs of 13 to maybe 15 degrees Celsius. However, with those blustery winds, it is going to be feeling a touch cooler than that when you do eventually step outside. Further showers will be pushing their way in from west to east as we head throughout this evening. Still a few clearer spells around at times, but into tonight a more persistent band of rain will be sweeping its way eastwards. Again, this could turn heavy at times with some hail and thunder possible as well. Underneath some of the clearer skies, temperatures will drop down into single figures overnight, but with the cloud, the rain and the breeze still in play, there shouldn't be too much in the way of frost as we start off Sunday morning. That band of rain will take its time to clear off southeast England during Sunday morning, so do be aware of quite a wet start here, and further frequent showers will push into northwestern Scotland later on in the day. Again, quite heavy at times, this time with some coastal gales as well. Temperatures generally a notch down compared to today, around 10 to 13 degrees Celsius as our highs. That unsettled theme is going to be continuing as we head into next week, but it will be turning notably milder as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Really not. Hello, welcome back. So I'm talking to the voices in my head. It's a thing I do every Saturday. Now, Border Force staff who are patrolling British waters and trying to stop the small boat crossings have voted to strike. Members of the Public and Commercial Services Union voted to take strike action on November the 14th over pay and condition. The PCS union said their work was dangerous, complex, demanding and sometimes harrowing. Whilst the Home Office praised Border Force for their tireless commitment and dedication every single day to keep our borders safe and secure. Joining me now is my favourite, it has to be said, human rights lawyer David Haigh. David, always good to chat to you on a Saturday, dragging you away from your beach. I know that. You live in a beautiful part of the world, by the way. David, now this... someone else going on strike. Let's start with that. What do you make of this?
Good afternoon, Dawn. I mean, I think without getting into the rights or the wrongs of going on strike, I mean, I think that we've got a lot of very brave people in Border Force, no doubt. I think, you can understand. I mean, you've got effectively with Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, the boss of the Home Office, basically for saying their employer is not fit for purpose, and that's the boss saying that. And, they're surrounded by farce, failure and danger. You can understand why probably they are looking at striking. I'm surprised it basically hasn't happened sooner.
I mean, David, they do. I mean, when we mentioned this story earlier on at the top of the show, everyone was going, will we notice any difference? Because the comment coming from everybody that's watching and listening today is Border Force really are more border fast, and all they do is act as a taxi service helping those migrant boats across the channel. What would your response be to those people?
I mean, I would say, I think probably also because of numbers. I mean, I think the numbers in the PCS union that are part of Border Force are quite small. So I think, there's a small number and, it is going to have an impact. And it's also, I think it's about sending the wrong message to the people smugglers, because effectively, they may view this message and this strike as, open borders, come on in. And I think that's a worry. And I think, it's a new month and already there's more problems on the first day for the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary. So I think it's a lot about optics. For the practical reasons, I don't think we'll see any difference, to be honest, about with the numbers that are striking. But the point is, I'm surprised it's not more. It hasn't happened sooner. And I think effectively what the Home Office has done in the way that they're being run at the moment and things that have been said, they're making themselves a hostage to whether it's criminals not wanting to be deported and we're having to pay them, or whether it's people striking because it just isn't fit for purpose and they're so very desperate.
And do you think, I mean, on the day they're on strike, I mean, obviously Border Force operate more than just patrolling the channel and stopping the boats coming over or helping the boats come over. On the day they're on strike, if the weather is good, and lots of boats do set sail from France because the French don't appear to be able to see them still, what happens if they get into the middle of the channel, Border Force are on strike and the boats get into trouble? What happens, David? Just talk me through the process of what will happen on that day where there is no Border Force in the channel.
You see, I think that's a very interesting point. I think, if it was all of the Border Force going on strike, I think you'd have a real problem. And you'd probably have to have the military or someone would actually have to come in and undertake the duties that we have. But I think, the numbers that are going on strike, I think would be, a little insignificant. So I don't think we'll see that. And I think the Home Office will, make up for that. But I think, in theory, if all of the Border Force went on strike, we would have a very desperate situation.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, we seem to be in a very desperate situation as it is. While I've got you, David, I just want to sort of like mention the other big story in the paper today. Almost 1 in 8 prisoners are now foreign nationals, and we have seen some absolutely horrific cases over the past few weeks of assault, of rape, of murder, of people who have come here illegally on those boats and are now in our prisons. This is a shocking statistic, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's not, when you look at the number of people that are coming across, I think, it's not one that is that surprising. And I think the problems that we're all far too familiar with is the difficulties that we have in deporting people when they're deemed as not from a safe country. And those problems are still there. They've not been addressed by this government. They haven't been addressed by the previous government. And then you come into a political issue. You obviously, the Labour Party are talking about legislation that will enable us to deport people that have been convicted straight away. Is that something that people actually want? If someone commits a crime here, that we just send them back to their country? There's a lot of political and ethical points in all of that, but again, it's just the start of a new month and more problems that are still unresolved by the Prime Minister and the current government. And I don't see a solution to these. I think the numbers, as I've said many times, as we talked many times, they're going to get bigger. The problems are going to get worse. And I don't see a solution in the current government, and the previous one didn't have one either.
You're not cheering me up, David. Normally I love chatting to you. You live in a beautiful part of the world. You're normally full of the joys of spring, but you're really not cheering me up this morning. It has to be said. But David, always good to talk to you. Thank you very much. That's human rights lawyer David Haigh there. Thank you very much for joining us on the fact that the Border Force are going to go on strike. What do you make of that one? gbnews.com/your say. Now, I know you're just staggering out of Halloween. I'm with you on that one, but it's never too early to think about the festive season. And how would you like to have your Christmas on us this year? That's right, yeah. We are giving you £40,000 in tax-free cash to have the Christmas of your dreams. $1,000 to spend on a luxurious Christmas lunch and a Christmas-themed GB News goodie bag, well, hey, for under the tree. And the best news is you'll get it all in time for the big day itself. This is a cracker, no pun intended. Here's all the details you need.
We're giving you the chance to win your entire Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck. It'll be here before you know it. I mean, it's the 1st of November already. You blink and it'll be here. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News. Loads more coming up on today's show. Yeah, we're looking at yesterday. We'll be taking a look at all of the celebrity Halloween costumes from last night, and some of them are amazing. Look at that one. Stay tuned to find out who is behind that particular Medusa masterpiece. And if you are in search of some holiday sun, where Medusa's from, that's a kind of seamless link. She was Greek, wasn't she? Anyways, here is the forecast for those top European holiday destinations. I'll shut up now. Have a look.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Looking across the southern parts of Europe, and whilst many areas are going to be mostly fine tomorrow, there is a bit of rain around. Across parts of Greece, it's going to be fairly wet, especially towards the west. Also a bit of rain pushing into far northern parts of Italy, some snow over the higher ground. Southern parts of France looking pretty wet as well. And whilst much of Spain and Portugal's looking generally fine tomorrow, as we go into the beginning of next week, there will be some wet weather pushing into western parts of Iberia. See you later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Newsome. Now, the great and the good, not me obviously, were out and about for Halloween last night, and there were, it has to be said, some pretty amazing costumes. Not least this one. Let's have a look, from model and TV presenter Heidi Klum. And if you are listening on the radio, she literally looks like the living Medusa, complete with live snakes in her hair and a tongue that looks like another snake. She's swallowed, to be honest. Absolutely astonishing. I have no idea how she did it. I mean, she always goes over the top, to be fair, but she looks amazing. In any case, she was widely acknowledged to have won this year's costume contest. However, she was far from alone in pulling out all the stops. Joining me now is freelance celebrity and lifestyle editor Suzanne Baum. Suzanne, good to see you. Looking completely normal this morning. I'm sure you had a pretty impressive fancy dress outfit on yesterday. We do see, certainly from the American celebrities, some really amazing outfits, don't we?
Yeah. Well, as it happens, I was out. I live very close to Jonathan Ross. My parents literally live in the road next to him. So every year we obviously do a drive-by. And last year, I mean, I think there were two themes this year. Well, there he is.
That's Jonathan Ross on your screens, yeah.
Yeah, the first was celebrity traitors. There are a lot of celebrities out as traitors, and also one's dressed up in Wicked for the new Wicked film that's coming out in November. I mean, Jonathan Ross looked amazing. I was actually more scared of the kids running backwards and forwards. You know, I was literally driving so slowly. It was more scary, you know, trying to watch the kids running than actually looking at Jonathan Ross. But he looks amazing.
It does. I'm just going to, for people listening on the radio, Suzanne, Jonathan Ross is wearing that green cape that he wore in The Traitors as one of the traitors, obviously with horns. OK, and what other celebs? What other celebs impressed you?
Well, talking about the traitors and the Green Hood, you've got Amanda Holden, whose best friend Alan Carr is in the traitors. So she dressed up with her daughters. There she is as a witch. As I was saying, she obviously did two outfits, Amanda being Amanda. So one of them was she went as a Green Hood with her two daughters, pretending to be a traitor. And then she took the theme from Wicked and went as a witch.
And she still looks beautiful.
Of course. And then her co-star Ashley Roberts also dressed as a witch. She painted her face all green. My favourite, there were unusual ones. Simon Cowell was funny. He just dressed up as an inflatable man, just with like a costume as an inflatable. My favourite was what's her name? Strictly's Diane Buswell. I love what Diane wore. She's so much fun. She dressed up basically as a fishbowl.
Suzanne, we'll leave it on there. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Dawn Newsome. This is GB News. Loads more coming up on today's show, so don't dare move a muscle. But first, it is, of course, time for the weather. Here it is.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, a very good afternoon to you. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. This first weekend of November is quite a blustery one for many of us. There's a lot of isobars on the pressure charts, courtesy of low pressure being very close by. This small-scale feature for the Northern Isles is providing quite a lot of rain today. That will eventually clear off as we head into this evening, but there are further scattered showers pushing across elsewhere. And a weather front moving eastwards into tonight will provide some slightly heavier pulses of rain across many areas. This could produce some hail and maybe even some thunder in the mixture as well. If you hold on to some of the clearer skies around, temperatures will drop down into single figures overnight, but with the breeze in play, there won't be too much frost as we do start off Sunday morning. However, our rain band will take some time to eventually clear off during Sunday morning, so do be prepared, particularly across southeastern England, for quite a wet start to the day here. A few brighter spells beginning to emerge elsewhere as we kick off Sunday morning, but we've got frequent showers pushing into northwest and Scotland. Again, these could be heavy at times and actually coming with some coastal gales for around Lewis and Harris and the Highlands as well. It will still be a breezy day elsewhere as well, but there will be a touch more sunshine poking its way through. And so if you manage to get out in some of those sunnier spells, it will feel like a reasonably okay autumnal day at least. Temperatures, though, are going to be a touch down compared to where we've seen them today, so slightly cooler overall, ranging between 10 and 13 degrees Celsius. As we head into the evening, we're going to see cloud building across Northern Ireland on Sunday. This will be producing some longer spells of rain, and that will steadily spread its way across all areas of the UK as we head into Monday. And generally next week, we are going to be holding on to that unsettled, changeable theme, further showers and rain at times. However, it is going to be turning notably milder for many of us as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're giving you the chance to win your entire Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
We have a very interesting guy in the studio called
Yes.
Will Whitehorn, who's a space expert. And the reason we've got Will in is that NASA have plans to send astronauts to live on the moon. And
It's not how you think, though, is it? It's inside glass bubbles that are going to be made from lunar dust.
OK.
Not in houses.
The American Space Agency is funding research to see if it is possible. And let's get Will, who does believe it's possible. And will you be going, Will?
Well, not to the moon, obviously.
No.
That's going to be a bit expensive. But and I think NASA will be sending astronauts who probably had to train for several years. But I do intend to go to space in the next couple of years, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So how's it going to work? So NASA's unveiling this plan to send astronauts to live on the moon, living in glass bubbles.
Yeah, made of basically moon dust. So there's a huge amount of silica and other similar materials on the moon. And basically using a microwave process, like a microwave oven, of a very sophisticated type, they're going to be able to meld those and construct, and also using 3D, technology, they'll also be able to construct the interiors on the moon. Now, that's because rocketry is expensive, so it'd be very expensive to take them up.
So it's not that you fill a big space container and bring it to the moon full of this stuff and then assemble it there. You're actually going to fabricate it, make it on the lunar surface.
That's one of NASA's plans. So the first mission going back shortly, in which Elon Musk will be involved with the new Starship rocket that you've probably seen. The Starship is the biggest rocket ever built in human history. And that's going to be able to also go to Mars. but it's also going to be able to carry industrial material to space.
Right. GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, it's 1 o'clock on Saturday, the 1st of November. Yeah, pinch punch. Oh, I can't say that now, can I? Because you'll have to punch me or something or other. In any case, this is the weekend on GB News.
I'm absolutely determined to restore honesty and integrity to government, because I think that is core to ensuring that people appreciate that politics can be a force for good.
I have no words. Remember when Starmer said that? Using the integrity word. Well, pressure continues to mount on Chancellor Rachel Reeves, with politicians now demanding Southwark Council step in and take action over her London rent scandal. And campaigners are descending on major cities across the UK to mark 199 days since the Supreme Court's ruling that gender is based on biology and not certification or self-identification, with women's groups demanding immediate application of the ruling. We'll be there live.
Well, the rally has already started here outside the Scottish Parliament, where women's groups have come together to tell the Scottish Government to get a move on and enact the Supreme Court ruling across Scotland. Public services still have no updated guidance for single-sex spaces.
Meanwhile, Andy, as we can now call him, had his royal titles stripped and has been kicked out of his Royal Lodge home. Now, reports this morning also suggesting he could be in line for a six-figure payout. That's nice, isn't it? And yeah, this one's annoying, as a £52 million road to nowhere is built through the Amazon jungle, funded by, yep, that's you, the British taxpayer. I'm asking, are we wasting money on foreign aid? Meanwhile, a key government review of the national curriculum. All schools will have to teach physics, chemistry and biology separately at GCSE to help boost social mobility. So no more combined sciences. Stay tuned to find out more about that one.
Stand halfway through this critical decade. 2030 feels very real.
And the countdown is on to this year's Earthshot Prize Awards. And in the GB News exclusive, we can reveal that gadget Prince William is considering installing in his own home. Oh, wonder what that is. I'm Dawn Leeson and this is The Weekend. Possibly a Ring doorbell to give his uncle away. No, we can't say that. Obviously, that's not fair, is it? But possibly, who knows? That's the gadget that William might be introducing into his home. But we'll find out all about that. But you can have a suggestion of what gadget you think Prince William might be involving in his own home, because this show is all about you and your views. gbnews.com/ is the way to get involved. And don't worry if you have to go out and about, because we are on the radio, so there was literally no escape. Join in the conversation, because that's the highlight of my day, is talking to you as well. But before we do all of that, let's have a chat to Bethany Elsey, because she's got the news headlines for you.
Dawn, thank you. Good afternoon. Your headlines from the GB Newsroom at 1:03. It's reported Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor will receive a six-figure one-off payment to cover his move out of Royal Lodge in Windsor to private accommodation in Sandringham. He's also expected to receive an annual salary thought to be several times higher than his £20,000 a year Navy pension. It follows the removal of his Prince title over his ties to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Newly revealed emails show Andrew told Epstein it would be, in his words, good to catch up in person months after he was released from prison. Andrew denies all the allegations against him. Protesters are gathering at locations across the UK demanding the immediate application of the Supreme Court ruling to protect single-sex public spaces. Demonstrations are taking place in London, Edinburgh and Cardiff, with trans rights activists holding counter-protests at all three locations. France and the UK are among the European countries sending aid to the Caribbean after one of the strongest storms to ever make landfall in the region killed 50 people and has left nearly 500,000 without power. Hurricane Melissa, rated a Category 5 storm, was the first major hurricane to directly hit Jamaica since 1988. US forecasters are estimating it's caused around £40 billion worth of damage. Federal judges in the US have ruled that President Donald Trump's administration cannot suspend funding for a program that helps nearly 42 million Americans afford food. The ruling comes as Democrat and Republicans trade blame for a month-long government shutdown. The stalemate could jeopardize so-called SNAP benefits, which cost around $8 billion every month. But the judges have ordered the White House to use contingency funds. Canada's Prime Minister says he's apologised to Donald Trump over a TV advert that criticised the use of tariffs. The political ad featured Republican icon and former President Ronald Reagan, saying tariffs cause trade wars and economic disaster. In response, the US president announced last week that he was terminating trade talks with Canada and increasing tariffs on goods by 10%. Mark Carney acknowledged that it caused offence and said he didn't want it to be broadcast in the first place. 5 people have been injured after a passenger train crashed into a lorry on the crossing in the Netherlands. Security camera footage shows the moment a passenger train hit the truck at the level crossing in the Dutch town of Metteren. The truck appeared to stop and reverse before becoming trapped between the barriers as they closed just seconds before impact. And the Premier League has blamed Europe's governing body, UEFA, for the lack of top-flight fixtures on Boxing Day this year. Manchester United's home game against Newcastle is the only match scheduled on the 26th of December, a day which is traditionally packed with action. The Premier League insists the decision has been forced on them by the expansion of European competitions. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
My face. Thank you very much, Bethany. Honestly, I could talk to you for hours about the voices in my head and some of the things they say to me. Honestly, human resources, it's just ridiculous. In any case, Bethany does that beautifully, does she? Okay, now, earlier on, it was revealed that GB News is Britain's #1 news channel. Yay, yay, yay. Not only for July, August and September, but also for October, which finished yesterday. And that is thanks to, of course, me. No, sorry, you, the wonderful viewers and listeners out there. So from all of us here, a huge thank you for your loyalty, your comments and just being there for us. I mean, we do it all for you. You are the important ones here. It's not all about us. So today, certainly keep those messages coming in at gbnews.com/yoursay. And just once again, a big thank you to all of us for making us Britain's #1 news channel. OK, now let's move on, shall we? As the nation braces for the budget next month, good luck, everybody, it is understood that Rachel Reeves is planning to raid pension tax perks in her latest attempt to plug, the hole in public finances. The Chancellor could collect as much as $4 billion a year by restricting how much workers can put into their retirement pots under salary sacrifice schemes. However, officials have warned it could lead to millions of average workers losing hundreds of pounds. I'm joined now by Stuart Forset, who is a Labour councillor on North East Derbyshire District Council. Thank you so much for coming in. Really good to see you. Now, I have a folder here, Stuart. I know you're Labour, right? OK, so it's red, obviously. Now, I have a folder, and this goes back, I think, literally just like 10 days of all the stories about what Rachel Reeves is going to do in the budget. None of it is happy reading, to be honest with you. Every day you pick up your newspaper, and there is another story. We're all doomed, aren't we, basically?
You know what? I think those stories...
I thought you were going to say yes, then.
Those stories speak a lot, because at the moment, we just don't know. There is a lot of speculation. But what we do know is Great Britain PLC does have a cash flow crisis. I don't think anyone's arguing with that. We are in a tight spot. And I think whether you like her or not, Rachel Reeves has got a pretty unenviable job at the moment. And there are some tough decisions to come. But on the pension thing, this is quite an interesting example. Because at the moment, in the last sort of 15 to 20 years, there's been more of an onus on the individuals to have their own pension in retirement. Sort of the shift away from the state pension has started happening. The onus has been on employees and employers to try and meet that a lot more. But of course, that capital that they put away by having these incentives is sort of far in the future, essentially. It's locked up in pension pots. So that money isn't going into the economy where we need it. And that's pretty tricky when we need people to spend their wages in the economy, you know, and create that growth, especially when you've got a cash flow crisis. You need cash in the business now. And for the tax, for the revenue system, that often comes through VAT. So that's the thing where they can really realise cash. Of course, in this particular move, if that was to be true, people aren't necessarily going to have money taken out of their pensions. It's just that the incentive to put that away in the future might not be quite as juicy, because what's really needed is to get them realising that money now in the economy.
Yeah, I mean, it could cost the average worker £210 a year, to be honest with you, which for a lot of people listening today or watching today is a lot of money still.
It is, and let's look at what these people have had to endure, because look at the rise in interest rates by the banks in response to inflation. So if your mortgage has gone up, that's really hit you quite hard. And of course, inflation has hit you quite hard as well whenever you've spent any money. But not just you when you're spending your money every week. And this is people on PAYE incomes who need their salary every month, and they see it going down faster. And then they're just feeling it's not going as far. And theirs isn't going as far because often the businesses that they are spending in, their money isn't going as far either. So if they have any borrowing, capital costs, that's also a lot higher now because of interest rates.
I mean, the other story, I mean, from Rachel today is that she's set to slash spending even, Dawn, by $5 billion a year. But these cuts are pencilled in for 2029, 2030.
So I think
they're a long way off.
It is, but we've got to think about it.
Government.
I hope Rachel Reeves is still the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
You are joking, you just said that out loud.
I did indeed. I'm the guy that believes in Rachel Reeves. There's not many of us at the minute, but I think there's some room to do so.
Right.
Because if Great Britain PLC is the business that we want it to be, that flies the Union Jack high, I think we need a chief financial officer that can sell our stock.
What has made you believe in Rachel Reeves? Give me an example of one thing that has made you go, yeah, that's a really cracker.
It's about what she stands for in office, and she told me this personally herself before the last general election.
Her own housing licence.
Well, I'm quite happy to talk about the housing licence, but I'll finish on this one first. And that is that Rachel Reeves told me directly, I'm not just going to be a Chancellor that sits in office, I'm going to campaign and fight for people in office. And the people I think she wants to fight for are the kind of people who rely on that salary every week. And when their mortgages go up because of interest rates, or inflation is going up and they can't buy as much at the shops, that really matters to them. So everything that I think she wants to do is going to enable them people to have a better economy.
Right, OK, let's just mention pensioners, for example. A lot of people watching today will be older. I mean, the winter fuel payment fiasco, I think is the polite way of putting it.
We've got a lot of inequality in the way we pay for our heating and our energy. I mean, businesses have a problem with that at the minute as well. And it wasn't just pensioners. And I can understand the frustration there when there was a decision to make there and then, because it was immediate cash flow again.
Right.
So expenses every day.
About it, but yeah.
But that was immediate in the first term. I can understand people's frustration on that one. But also, what she has put in place as well for working people is the expansion in borrowing in order to create more housing stock. There's a lot of people that aren't able to get their own house at the minute.
How's the building houses going?
Very difficult, because we've had a lot of planning. We've had a lot of planning applications take a very long time to get there, and at the minute the planning application process to get people their homes.
So the truth is,
Labour
are hitting round about 12% of the building of houses they promised they would be hitting.
Well, and this is the challenge, because we've got the legacy of several systems that we're fighting against.
Tories.
No, well, let's look. And I said this last time. Great Britain PLC is having a difficult time of it, and we've got to look at the history to look forward.
Right, of course, yeah.
But I think actually there's some reason here that we need to all understand, which is we all have to participate in this bounce back. We are in a really difficult system. Every single one of us is in a difficult spot. We don't have the disposable income that we used to do prior to the economic crash. So I'll just put away governments for a minute and prior governments. The sort of growth and prosperity that people feel prior to the global economic crisis is much lower. Productivity in the country is... We make less things now than we ever have done.
Well, I mean, sure, we've also got under Labour, I know it's only been just over a year, but we've also got more people, especially youngsters, not in incomes, not studying, not working, and that is growing every single day under Labour.
Well, I think it's been growing for a very long time because people...
Tories.
But I'm not even mentioning about the Tories. I think what we have here is a fundamental issue about aspiration and letting people realise their potential in life.
Why is it shooting up under Labour in particular, though? And it really has since Labour have been in power.
I'd need to look at the figures that you're referring to, particularly with young people. We have a huge issue with those not in employment, educational training.
Yeah.
So that's young people who feel very locked out of the system, and at the minute welfare for them isn't enabling them to get jobs that they want to do.
Many of them, like 44% of them, aren't even on welfare. They're just not working.
Not able to get in. And that speaks volumes as well on a welfare system that actually isn't serving people, which needs to be reformed in order to get them into work. So if we have these people out of work and they're saying there's no point in rolling in welfare, that's quite a troubling statistic, really. And then at the other end of the scale, we've got those in their late 40s and early 50s who still have a lot to give this country in terms of life experience.
This is true.
You know, and they could be part of that recovery as well. I mean, GBNews readers will have read what I thought about a new type of national service that could actually help that. But all of these things have to be costed, and that's what's really important. Everything that this government wants to do, it has said, we will make sure that we can write the cheques for whatever we commit to, and that includes day-to-day spending. And this is why we're in a real tight spot at the moment, because day-to-day spending, the tax receipts that are coming in to do that, it's very difficult to forecast. What you said at 2029, it's very difficult to know what that could be.
So just briefly, taxes are going to go up, aren't they?
I think taxes have gone up quite a lot in terms of borrowing and inflation.
Personal income tax, despite it being promised that it wouldn't be touched, it is going to go up. We have to accept it.
Dawn, I think the thing we most have in common here, we don't know. All I can say to you is that the fiscal rules that the Chancellor wants to abide by are there to protect the people who are most vulnerable to changes in economics.
Right, yeah. So Stuart, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. That is our Labour councillor, Stuart Forset there. Let me know what you think about that. Do you think Rachel's doing a good job? gbnews.com/your say. Now, women's rights groups are protesting across the UK today, demanding the immediate application of the landmark Supreme Court decision. Earlier this year, the Supreme Court ruled that the terms woman, man and sex in the Equality Act 2010 refer to biological sex at birth, which in practice means that transgender people have no right to access single-sex spaces. However, campaigners are saying that the ruling has not been applied properly yet, and in many areas it really hasn't, certainly in Scotland. We're joined now by GB News reporter Sam Francis and GB News Scotland reporter Tony Maguire. Let's go to Sam first. Sam, you're in London for us. What's happening here?
Dawn, good afternoon. Yes, we are live in central London. We have, in fact, just been on the move. We started up in Parliament Square moments ago, and we have been joining the women's rights activists and feminist activists as they move down towards the counter-protest taking place just to my right-hand side. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. Now, 199 days ago today, the Supreme Court made that ruling that under law, the definition of a woman is by biological sex at birth, and therefore excludes transgender women from that category. Joining me now, we'll just have a quick conversation with the directors of Sex Matters, Fiona McInerney and Maya Forstater. Good afternoon to you both. Familiar faces on GB News, I'm sure. Why are we here today? What are we calling for? You say the government has not delivered. We're 7 months on now from that Supreme Court ruling.
Yes, I mean, straight after the ruling, Keir Starmer said the government supports it, everyone needs to get on with it. And now we've been waiting 7 months for guidance from the Equality and Human Rights Commission. It's been completed. It's with the Minister. She needs to lay it before Parliament, and we don't know why they're delaying. Everyone needs to understand the law, and at the moment they're saying there is no guidance.
Fiona, in terms of practical actions from the government, from public spaces, services, what are you looking for?
We need some leadership, because the law's the law. They don't actually need to wait for this guidance. They just need to say the Supreme Court made a ruling. Everyone understands it. It's perfectly simple and clear. You know, if something is meant to be for one sex or the other, then that's based on how you're born, and you can't change that. And all we're saying is sometimes you need single-sex spaces, and no one male should be in a women's space or women's sport or a women's prison. So the authorities, the employers, all kinds of organisations can simply act on that. They really don't need to wait any longer, and that's why we're here. We're saying, stop waiting, it's the law.
Do you feel that perhaps the ruling has been misunderstood and that is why there has been such a delay? Or is it more clear-cut than that?
Well, when the ruling was made, no one was in any doubt what it meant. And subsequently, they've all decided it's all a bit difficult and confusing. But you know, it wasn't difficult or confusing when they were keeping women out of the Olympics, for example. Everyone knows what a man and a woman is. So we just need people to find a bit of backbone.
Fiona Meyer, thank you so much. Well, let's just take a quick spin round to the counter-protest that is taking place down here in Victoria Embankment, opposite the London Eye and just moments away from where we first started this afternoon. It is worth noting that on social media earlier today, the accounts promoting that counter-protest, and I'll just read out a quote from that post, said, "Don't talk to police, bring a mask, bring a friend, and bring your rage." Now, of course, this issue does divide opinion. Trans rights holding that counter-protest nearby, saying that the rally from women's rights activists promotes exclusion and risks fueling discrimination and division against them. But let's hear more now from Tony Maguire up in Edinburgh, where I believe another protest is taking place.
Tony.
Yeah, good afternoon, Don. Well, as Sam said there, you know, it's interesting, the counter-protesters who support the kind of trans rights, they've all been fed the same kind of information up and down the country. In fact, just a few moments ago, we saw a journalist who was from the Byline Times who was in a very odd interaction with the police, was writing things down in a pad, but wouldn't verbally engage until a little bit later on, all masked up. And here, given previous incidents in Scotland, there's quite a bit of distance between the women's rights protesters here and the counter-protesters at the other side of Parliament, so much so it's actually quite difficult to even show you. But here we are in the women's rights protest, the Women's Won't Waste, marking 199 days since the Supreme Court decision. And you know, let's go have a quick chat and just talk to some of them there. Hi there, what's your name?
Pauline.
So Pauline, now you've got your brolly up today, you needed it after all. This is all about the Scottish Government not acting fast enough in guidance. So what's your message for the Scottish Government today?
I think it's quite simple. Get your finger out and follow the law.
And in yourself as well, you've got the brolly up, doing good work
useful
there.
Today.
What would you say, you know, the Scottish Government, have you been disappointed? What has been the frustration
really
like?
Disappointed. They won't listen to women, and I would say the same as my friend. Get a move on, obey the law. There's no reason for you to stall at all.
And just in terms, we're 199 days, we have to mark that since the Supreme Court decision. You know, did you think you would be here 199 days ago?
Absolutely not. No.
Well, you know, as you can see, there's a lot of frustration here, and I think that kind of much marks the way that most people here are thinking, even with the weather up. But you know, as we you can probably just take a peek through there. There is actually some more trans rights activists have tried to infiltrate sort of this side of the protest, despite the police who were here at 10 o'clock this morning setting up the barriers and putting in a lot of work and working out of who goes where. But of course, this has been an issue that has had roots in Scotland. This was Nicola Sturgeon's legacy, some might say, because the original plans for the Gender Recognition Reform Bill began in her government, and of course that then led to the fight between For Women Scotland and the Scottish Government, which resulted in that Supreme Court decision 199 days ago.
Thank you very much. That is our Tony Maguire, who is in Scotland for us at the women's rights protest. Thank you very much. Let me know what you think about this story. I can't believe that I got to the grand old age of 60. It's my birthday next month. 60. And I need a court judgment to tell me that I'm a woman and what a woman is, and the fact that it's 199 days and we are still having people contest that. Women's rights. I'm sorry, what we've been fighting for centuries. In any case, I'm Dawn Neeson, this is GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's show.
Today, as we stand halfway through this critical decade, 2030 feels very real.
Yeah, the countdown is on to this year's Earthshot Prize Awards, and in a GB News exclusive, we can reveal that what gadget Prince William is considering installing in his home. But after the break, Andy, the bloke formerly known as Prince, has had his royal title stripped and been kicked out of the Royal Lodge home. Now, reports this morning are also suggesting he could be in line for a six-figure payout, $500,000. All of that and much more to come. This is GB News at Britain's News Channel. I'll see you very, very soon.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. No, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hello, welcome back to the Weekend with me, Dawn Neese. I'm just going to read this quick message out. This one's from Gordon. Gordon, you've said exactly the same thing as I did at the same time, so great minds think alike. Gordon said, talking about the women's rights protests in London and Edinburgh, Scotland today, Gordon says, just seen one Palestine flag supporting trans rights. Strange when we all know what would happen if these trans rights protesters went to Palestine and anywhere else in the world. Yeah, lots of people agreeing with that one. Keep them coming in, gbnews.com/your say. Now, Andy, formerly known as Prince, could be in line for a large one-off payment and even an annual bursary to stop him from overspending in his new life as a commoner. A new poll shows that an overwhelming majority of Brits, 79% of us, back the King's decision to strip his brother of his titles. Meanwhile, the government says it has no plans to pass a law removing Andy from the line of succession. I think he's number 8, meaning he technically is still in line to the throne. But should taxpayers really be footing the bill for anything to do with this man anymore? And should he still be entitled to the crown? Joining me now is political and constitutional historian Dr. Nigel Fletcher. Dr. Fletcher, Nigel, if I may call you that. Firstly, just what do you make of this whole story?
Well, it's quite extraordinary. We've seen what's been described by lots of people as an unprecedented and historic action by the king in stripping titles and honours from his brother. Of course, I'm bound to say as an historian that it's not completely unprecedented. This has happened throughout English and British history, that monarchs have stripped honours and titles away from errant siblings and others in the royal family throughout history, but it's usually been alongside sort of quite dramatic events, and this, I think, qualifies for that. So certainly in modern history, it is an unprecedented thing that we've seen, that the king has not allowed his brother the dignity of announcing these things himself, as he tried to do 2 weeks ago, but actually being very clear in the statement that this is something that's being done as a sanction. This is a matter of censure. He has been removed effectively from the royal family. And what strikes me about it is we talk a lot about political scandals. We are quite used to the way in which those play out. Somebody does something that is embarrassing, or they break the law, or they lie, and then they resign, or they're sacked. And that draws a line under it, and the government moves on. And the royal family has a great difficulty in the fact that how do you sack a member of the royal family? Well, we've just found out, I think, that this is the way it's done. The king has announced that he's going to strip these titles formally. That process has begun. And before too long, I think possibly in the next week, we'll see letters patent issued, formal documents, legal documents that have legal standing that will strip him of his title of prince. And that will be quite a moment, I think.
And do you think we will see him being stripped of his line of succession? I think he's number 8 in line for the throne at the moment.
Well, this is the difficulty, because the logic of this position is that Andrew has been removed from the royal family, that he remains a member of the king's family. You can't do anything about that, much as perhaps they would like to. He will always be a member of the king's family, but he is not a member of the capital letters royal family. That's what this statement this week has done. And if you follow that logic, it does follow, really, that you have to say these positions that he still holds. He is still in the line of succession to the throne. He is also, therefore, eligible to be a councillor of state. These people who are able, within the royal family, to step in and act on behalf of the king if he were indisposed through illness or being abroad. And the line from the palace has been that there's no question that Andrew would ever be asked to do that. For that reason, a couple of years ago, they added the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, and the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Edward, who were not in that category. They were added in to allow them to do that. But I think that political opinion will now start to look at these constitutional roles that Andrew still technically has. And I think that is what we will see. The king was quite clear, and the palace have been quite clear. They didn't want to take up parliamentary time away from important issues to deal with this issue of the titles. They found ways to do that themselves. But I think if politicians and MPs decide that this is not a position that they want to continue, they may decide that they want to spend parliamentary time removing him from those important constitutional roles. And that does seem to fit with the logic of what we've seen this week.
Interesting times ahead. Thank you very much. That's Dr. Nigel Fletcher, a political and constitutional historian. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Dawn Newsroom. This is GBNews. There's loads more coming up on today's absolutely packed show. A sea of more than 10,000 handmade poppies will soon cascade from the tower of St Mary's Church in Battle, marking 80 years since the end of the Second World War. I'll be joined by a project leader later on in the show. But first, it is time for the news headlines with Bethany.
Good afternoon. The headlines from the GB Newsroom. Pressure is building on Andrew Mountbatten Windsor to give evidence before a US congressional committee about his links to the paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein, just days after the king stripped him of his royal titles. Protesters are gathering at locations across the UK demanding the immediate application of the Supreme Court ruling to protect single-sex public spaces. Police have separated counter-protesters to avoid rising tensions. France is among the countries sending humanitarian aid to Jamaica after it was hit by one of the strongest hurricanes on record in the Caribbean, leaving 50 people dead and nearly 500,000 without power. And the Red Cross has transferred the remains of 3 people from Gaza to Israel, but authorities there say they don't belong to any of the missing hostages. Those are the headlines for now. More for you at the top of the hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Thank you very much, Bethany. Now remember, let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're discussing today by visiting gbnews.com/yoursay and join in our conversation about anything you want to have a chat about. It is a Saturday, this is the weekend, let's chill together. But there is loads more coming up on today's show, and this one might unchill you a bit. A 52 million road to basically nowhere is being built through the Amazon jungle, funded by, oh yes, the British taxpayer. I'm asking, are we wasting money on foreign aid? All of that and much more to come. I'm Dawn Newsroom, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel. I'll see you very, very soon.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. To start off November, it is quite a changeable and mixed theme. We do have low pressure up towards the northwest of the UK, bringing a slightly unsettled genre throughout this weekend. Lots of isobars on the chart here indicating some quite blustery winds for much of the UK. Some spells of rain at times, particularly for the Northern Isles throughout much of today. Elsewhere across the UK, the rain will be a touch more showery in nature, so there will still be some brighter interludes in between. But some of these showers, particularly across Wales, southwest England later on today, could turn quite heavy with some hail, maybe some thunder in the mixture as well. Generally, though, the further east you are, parts of northeastern England and eastern Scotland getting away with the best of that sunshine. Temperatures today generally peaking around 10-11 degrees Celsius for Scotland and Northern Ireland. Further towards the south, we'll be climbing towards highs of 13 to maybe 15 degrees Celsius. However, with those blustery winds, it is going to be feeling a touch cooler than that when you do eventually step outside. Further showers will be pushing their way in from west to east as we head throughout this evening. Still a few clearer spells around at times, but into tonight a more persistent band of rain will be sweeping its way eastwards. Again, this could turn heavy at times with some hail and thunder possible as well. Underneath some of the clearer skies, temperatures will drop down into single figures overnight, but with the cloud, the rain and the breeze still in play, there shouldn't be too much in the way of frost as we start off Sunday morning. That band of rain will take its time to clear off southeast England during Sunday morning, so do be aware of quite a wet start here, and further frequent showers will push into northwestern Scotland later on in the day. Again, quite heavy at times, this time with some coastal gales as well. Temperatures generally a notch down compared to today, around 10 to 13 degrees Celsius as our highs. That unsettled theme is going to be continuing as we head into next week, but it will be turning notably milder as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. Thank you very much for your company this Saturday afternoon. Now, this one is a good story for you. A £52 million road through the Amazon jungle is being built using British climate aid, your money in other words. This is just one of the many schemes which is funded by the International Climate Finance Initiative, or ICF. An investigation by The Telegraph, a newspaper, has revealed that a number of ICF projects have been accused of corruption and waste. There's a surprise. All of this comes as the COP30 climate summit is just days away, and Keir Starmer will be jetting into it, obviously. So is this climate aid a waste most of our money? With the cost of living crisis, isn't there more important things to spend it on here? To debate this, we're joined by political commentator and podcaster Sunil Sharma and former Labour aide Stella Santakido. Thank you both very much for joining me. Always good to see both of you. I mean, this is a ridiculous story. £52 million on a road in the Amazon that doesn't even go anywhere. Sunil, it's a waste of our money, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's an example of a lot of where our foreign aid goes. We know for a fact that a lot of these projects don't necessarily actually complete. We don't know where exactly all the money goes. We know for a fact that some, due to the corrupt nature of some of these countries, they don't even go to the people that are there to aid. I think we should look more towards what other countries do when it comes to foreign aid. The examples of China, for example, who don't have foreign aid, they call it development cooperation, where they go to these countries, they're more strategic, a lot more infrastructure projects, a lot more loan-based projects, and from that they actually gain strategic diplomacy, they get access to natural resources. It's a lot more of a cooperative approach. In the UK, infrastructure is failing. People's lives are getting worse on a day-to-day basis. Yet we are sending taxpayers' money, British taxpayer money, to projects and places that we have no idea what the impact actually is. It's a crazy, crazy scenario, and I think it's really deeply, deeply worrying. And I would love there to be a much bigger investigation in terms of where every single penny of foreign aid goes. We know for a fact some of the countries it goes to, the impact it has isn't what it should be. More than 250 million goes to Ukraine. That's even before we talk about the 3 billion that it costs for us to house many of these refugees from Ukraine. That alone, considering the state of the UK economy, is absolutely crazy. And I think there needs to be a much wider discussion on foreign aid and its impact.
OK, Stella, what do you make of this?
So which one is it? Do we want to do what China does, which is precisely as you said, they are spending loads of money to make sure that they have access in all of these developing countries while we are vacating the space. China is spending over $1 trillion a year on these projects. There are over 70 countries who are in debt to China, and this has a massive impact on their position in terms of their global influence. It means that all of these countries are a lot more motivated to vote with China in the United Nations, in the Security Council.
Those are loans.
More generally,
they're not aid. They're not grants, they're loans. These are grants. We're giving grants. We're actually giving them free money, untied aid. China is doing loans, and China has a reciprocal energy. When we're doing these aid deals, there is no goods or services are being purchased from the UK. It's completely different with China's case. We are giving aid to countries that we have no idea about what we're doing. We're not gaining any diplomacy in these countries. We're not stabilizing any of these economies.
It's not completely different. We are just better at PR. The UK is just
Sorry,
better
one at a
at
time.
public relations.
Stella, you have your say now.
It is not completely different. The UK is just better at public relations, and this is the way that we framed it to begin with, because the UK, as a liberal country, we had human rights, we had all of these things, and we wanted to make sure that all of these things, they were things that we were advocating for. So what you are describing there, these countries are not going to pay back China. China is never going to pay, is not going to see a single pound back from the money that they are investing in these countries, from all of these roads that they're building and all of these ports and all of these places. Like, yeah, sure, there are some places where it is a loan, but there are a lot of other places where, believe me, they do not expect to get that money back. So in terms of the effect and in terms of what is happening, it is exactly the same thing. The point is, we no longer have that amount of money, but foreign aid to begin with, it was always about global stability. It was always about halting the refugee crisis that we have seen, how much more expensive refugee crisis has been for Europe, rather than if from the beginning we have invested as much as was needed to make sure that these situations do not escalate.
Sunil?
I think that's totally untrue. Escalate. So Syria, we give more than £100 million to Syria. What's that doing? Syria is unstable. Not doing. We give more than £100 million to Afghanistan. That's not stable. We give 80 million to Pakistan. We give money to Bangladesh. Lots of these countries are not stable. We're not helping in any of those circumstances. We give foreign aid for the simple basis of virtue signaling. Look at us, we're doing something good. Charity starts at home. The UK economy is crashing. The UK average person in their life is getting considerably worse. And you you can't compare it to China because China is a bigger economy, but China have a much more strategic way of doing it. We don't. We do not have the same manpower as China. China has a population of more than 1 billion. We're barely 70 million. It's not helped the refugee crisis. If anything, it's got worse. You look at, we've spent more than £3 billion on Ukraine. What has that achieved for UK? Nothing. We are spending absurd amounts of money. We're being foreign aid or in foreign relations that are having a negative impact on the UK. And I think with the state of the UK economy right now, what UK people are going through, I think under no circumstances should we be given this money. Every single penny should be scrutinised. You know, we're constantly increasing taxes on every single person in the UK, but we're happy to give foreign aid when we have no reality.
Let's bring Stella back in. Stella, what about the fact that charity should begin at home? People are really suffering in this country.
I'm not going to say that all of this money is being spent in the best way, and we know very well that foreign aid is money that it's very difficult to do foreign aid correctly. It is hard. You don't just go into another country and you clean up the mess. That is not how it works. However, the UK and the US, they were global powers for a reason. And there were things that they understood. There used to be things that global leaders, American and British global leaders, used to understand about what it means to be a global superpower. And the reason why we are no longer that is because we have completely abdicated responsibility and have forgotten how to do big things. So yes, while I agree with you, there is a lot of corruption in all of these schemes. And I am not at all in favor of having very woolly-mouthed random projects here and there, small projects here and there. But there are things that you can do, and there are things that only big government projects can do. And I do think that some of them really are worth it. And, you know, like I was reading through the Telegraph investigation about this project, and absolutely, they have uncovered some corruption, which we know exists. But then was saying things like, oh, why are we handing out condoms in Congo, and how is that going to avert climate catastrophe? Well, isn't one of the problems that we have with the refugee crisis that there are far too many young people in some of these countries without economic opportunity? So surely that should be the least of our problems. Surely that should be the least controversial aspect of it.
OK, so Neil, condoms in the Congo are a worthwhile investment for British taxpayers?
No, absolutely not. You want to solve the refugee crisis in terms of the UK, shut the borders. I mean, it's quite straightforward. We're not a global power, and hopefully one day that can happen again. But right now, UK is not a global power. And I agree, it needs to do more big deals. It needs to be big projects, but that's not on the basis of foreign aid. That's from business to business. That's in lowering taxes, creating an economy where you actually encourage businesses to stay in the UK, where it's British entrepreneurs, in making a much better economy and making their trade easier so that we can grow the British economy. It's not through foreign aid. It's not through governments going to Congo and helping.
Sorry, Sunil. Sunil and Stella, I have to finish that one there. I'm going to finish it on the phrase growing the British economy, because I think we'd all agree that would be a very good thing. Sunil Sharma and Stella Santakido, thank you both very much for joining me on that one. And of course, let me know what you think about there. Would you rather spend money here or in the Congo? Dawn Neeson, GB News, loads more coming up on today's show.
Today, as we stand halfway through this critical decade, 2030 feels very real.
Yep, the countdown is on to this year's Earthshot Prize Awards, and in a GB News exclusive, we can reveal what gadget Prince William is considering installing in his home. But now, before that, if you are in search of some holiday sun, here is a forecast for those top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Looking across southern parts of Europe, and whilst many areas are going to be mostly fine tomorrow, there is a bit of rain around. Across parts of Greece, it's going to be fairly wet, especially towards the west. Also a bit of rain pushing into far northern parts of Italy, some snow over the higher ground. Southern parts of France looking pretty wet as well. And whilst much of Spain and Portugal's looking generally fine tomorrow, as we go into the beginning of next week, there will be some wet weather pushing into western parts of Iberia. See you later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
The Royal British Legion is launching the Poppy Appeal to raise funds to support the armed forces community.
Well, the launch will be held at Frameless, where veterans supported by the RBL will share their stories amid a spectacular, immersive poppy landscape projection.
Well, the appeal will encourage the nation to wear a poppy to send a personal message of thanks to those who serve.
Well, let's talk to our national reporter, Will Godley.
And this is all part of the Royal British Legion's fundraising, this Poppy Appeal, happening from now until Armistice Day on, of course, 11th of November, raising money for the armed forces community. They're hoping to raise £50 million to support the some 7,000 veterans, family members and armed forces. And when you were in Afghanistan, that's when your military career came to an unexpected end, wasn't it? What happened there?
So I was the point man in a foot patrol, and unfortunately I was involved in an explosion which subsequently took my hearing from my left ear, and due to that I was forced to leave the army for medical reasons.
And since then, Jason, you've been supported by the Royal British Legion. What kind of support have they offered for you?
Well, it's a vast array of support, really. It can be financial, you know, mental health. They can signpost you for different various charities and support that, you know, as veterans that we really essentially do need, you know, to rebuild our lives and get to a better point, you know, and be positive in our lives and know that we've got that hand on our shoulder when it's needed.
And I can hear you sounding a little bit emotional talking about it. What kind of a difference has that made, that support, on your life?
Oh, it's massive, you know, you can't really... It's not something you can put into words.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. The Prince of Wales is embarking on his first official visit to Brazil for his 5th annual Earthshot Prize. Our royal correspondent Cameron Walker has the details for you.
It's 5 years since Prince William founded his Earthshot Prize, aiming to create a healthier planet for his children.
Back then, a decade felt a long time. George was 7, Charlotte 5 and Louis 2. The thought of them in 2030 felt a lifetime away. But today, as we stand halfway through this critical decade, 2030 feels very real.
The Prince is travelling thousands of miles to Brazil for 3 separate eco-events: Earthshot, United for Wildlife, and representing his father at the United Nations Climate Conference. In Rio, he'll visit iconic landmarks like Christ the Redeemer, and will celebrate young climate leaders. But last week, many young people died in gang-busting police raids in the city's slums. Security is expected to be tight as hundreds of VIPs, politicians and celebrities make the journey to South America. Bristol-based Matter is Britain's only Earthshot Prize finalist this year. By 2030, it aims to capture 15,000 tonnes of harmful microplastics with their new invention. Here's Chief Executive Adam Root.
The inside of a washing machine is kind of like a cheese grater. So every time you wash your clothes, you're kind of breaking these little tiny fragments of the clothes, and they kind of go down into the water. But the challenge is in washing machines that we have no filters, and they're too smaller particle to get captured by the wastewater treatment plants.
Well, this may look like the fluff that comes out of your tumble dryer, but it's actually come from your washing machine. But Matter's filters have captured all of this microplastic, preventing it from going into the oceans and rivers.
And it's understood Prince William's eyeing up the filters for the royal household. The tech also works large-scale. Giant versions can be installed in textiles factories, removing up to 97% of microplastics from wastewater. Sir Keir Starmer will be the first British Prime Minister to join the future king at his Earthshot Prize, and it's understood he's keen to meet Matters bosses. Currently, there's no UK laws mandating washing machine filters, but Chief Commercial Officer Anthony Kalanko thinks the Prime Minister could change this.
We are already talking about this in the House of Commons. There are MPs out there who are making noise around this. So if we can put a spotlight, as I said, through the Earthshot Prize on this particular problem and help accelerate that legislation, it can only be seen as a good thing.
The British firm's one of 15 finalists from around the world wanting a prize pot of £1 million, with an aim to scale up their solutions at speed. The Prince of Wales will be watching closely as he takes the more environmentally friendly option, opting for a commercial flight to take him for his first official visit to Brazil. Cameron Walker, GB News.
I'm Jordan Needham. This is GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's show, so don't you dare move a muscle. But first, let's take a look at the latest weather. Here's the details.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, a very good afternoon to you. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. This first weekend of November is quite a blustery one for many of us. There's a lot of isobars on the pressure chart, courtesy of low pressure being very close by. This small-scale feature for the Northern Isles is providing quite a lot of rain today. That will eventually clear off as we head into this evening, but there are further scattered showers pushing across elsewhere. And a weather front moving eastwards into tonight will provide some slightly heavier pulses of rain across many areas. This could produce some hail and maybe even some thunder in the mixture as well. If you hold on to some of the clearer skies around, temperatures will drop down into single figures overnight, but with the breeze in play, there won't be too much frost as we do start off Sunday morning. However, our rain band will take some time to eventually clear off during Sunday morning, so do be prepared, particularly across southeastern England, for quite a wet start to the day here. A few brighter spells beginning to emerge elsewhere as we kick off Sunday morning, but we've got frequent showers pushing into northwest and Scotland. Again, these could be heavy at times and actually coming with some coastal gales for around Lewis and Harris and the Highlands as well. It will still be a breezy day elsewhere as well, but there will be a touch more sunshine poking its way through. And so if you manage to get out in some of those sunnier spells, it will feel like a reasonably okay autumnal day at least. Temperatures, though, are going to be a touch down compared to where we've seen them today, so slightly cooler overall, ranging between 10 and 13 degrees Celsius. As we head into the evening, we're going to see cloud building across Northern Ireland on Sunday. This will be producing some longer spells of rain, and that will steadily spread its way across all areas of the UK as we head into Monday. And generally next week, we are going to be holding on to that unsettled, changeable theme, further showers and rain at times. However, it is going to be turning notably milder for many of us as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
We could be delivering the perfect Christmas to you this year. There's £30,000 in tax-free cash to make 2026 the best year yet. A further £10,000 cash to spend on gifts for all the family. There's £1,000 to spend in your favourite supermarket. And a festively themed GB News goodie bag, and we'll get it all to you in time for the big day. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, it's 2 o'clock on Saturday, the 1st of November, and this is the weekend on GB News.
I'm absolutely determined to restore honesty and integrity to government, because I think that is core to ensuring that people appreciate that politics can be a force for good.
Oh dear, be careful what you say. Remember when Starmer said that? Well, pressure continues to mount on Chancellor Rachel Reeves, with politicians now demanding Southwark Council step in and take action over her London rent scandal. Meanwhile, campaigners are descending on major cities across the UK today to mark 199 days since the Supreme Court's ruling that gender is based on biology and not certification or self-identification, with women's groups demanding immediate action of the ruling. We'll be there live for you.
Well, the Supreme Court gave its ruling 199 days ago today, but here in London and indeed across the rest of the UK, it's still being argued out on the streets. We'll bring you the very latest from the protest and counter-protest right here outside Downing Street.
Yeah, well, here outside Holyrood in Edinburgh, there's about 200 metres between both protests. We've got the counter-protesters from the trans rights activists behind me. We're going to try and get a bit closer and try and see what their take is as we try and engage them in their side of this debate.
Yes, important story there. And meanwhile, Andy, formerly known as Prince, has had his royal titles stripped and been kicked out of Royal Lodge home. Now reports this morning also suggesting he could be in line for a six-figure payout. That's nice. And a key government review of the national curriculum recommends all schools should have to teach physics, chemistry and biology separately at GCSE to help boost social mobility. So no more combined sciences, whatever that even is. Stay tuned for more on that story. And a sea of more than 10,000 handmade poppies will soon cascade from the tower of St Mary's Church in Battle, marking 80 years since the end of the Second World War. I'll be joined by a project leader later on in the show. I'm Dawn Newsroom, this is Weekend. So thank you so much for your company on this glorious Saturday afternoon. It is the 1st of November. I've got no idea how that's happened, but it is the 1st of November, officially All Hallows Day. So if you are celebrating, have a good one. And if you are still hungover from last night's trick-or-treating, then just stay where you are. You haven't got to move, OK? I'm keeping you company. And if you want to get in touch and talk about any of the stories we're covering today, or tell us all about your trick-or-treating from last night, gbnews.com/yoursay is the way to do it. And let's have a chat, shall we? But before we get stuck into today's stories, let's get the news headlines with Bethany Elsie.
Dawn, thank you. Good afternoon. Your top stories from the GB Newsroom at 2:03. Pressure is building on Andrew Mountbatten Windsor to give evidence before a US congressional committee about his links to the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. It comes just days after the King stripped his brother of his Prince and Duke of York titles. It's reported Andrew is set to receive a six-figure one-off payment to cover his move out of Royal Lodge in Windsor to private accommodation in Sandringham, as well as an annual salary thought to be several times higher than his £20,000 a year Navy pension. Andrew denies all the allegations against him. The first charter flight carrying British citizens back from Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa is set to take off today. Parts of the Caribbean have been left devastated by one of the strongest hurricanes to hit the Caribbean, with at least 50 killed and nearly 500,000 without power. Around 8,000 British nationals are thought to have been on the island, where popular tourist areas such as Montego Bay have been badly hit. The UK has also announced £7.5 million of humanitarian support, including shelter kits and solar-powered lanterns. France is also sending aid, including water treatment equipment, tents, mattresses and food. 11 people have been charged in connection with attempting to smuggle more than half a tonne of cannabis, worth around £13.8 million, into the UK. The National Crime Agency says the group, aged between 21 and 35, were arrested at Birmingham Airport after Border Force found the drugs packed into 22 separate suitcases. They had travelled to the UK from Thailand via Paris. They're currently on bail after appearing at Birmingham Magistrates Court and are due in court again in December. 5 people have been injured after a train crashed into a lorry on a crossing in the Netherlands. Security camera footage shows the moment a passenger train hit the truck at a level crossing in the Dutch town of Metteren. The driver appeared to stop and reverse before becoming trapped between the barriers as they closed just seconds before impact. Federal judges in the US have ruled that President Donald Trump's administration cannot suspend funding for a program that helps nearly 42 million Americans afford food. The ruling comes as Democrats and Republicans trade blame for a month-long government shutdown. The stalemate could jeopardize so-called SNAP benefits, which cost around $8 billion every month. But judges have ordered the White House to use contingency funds. Meanwhile, Canada's Prime Minister says he apologised to Donald Trump over a TV advert that criticised the use of tariffs. The political advert featured Republican icon and former President Ronald Reagan saying tariffs caused trade wars and economic disaster. In response, the US president announced last week that he was terminating trade talks with Canada and increasing tariffs on goods by 10%. Mark Carney has acknowledged that Mr. Trump was offended and said he didn't want the ad to be broadcast. And the Premier League has blamed Europe's governing body, UEFA, for the lack of top-flight fixtures on Boxing Day this year. Manchester United's home game against Newcastle is the only match scheduled on the 26th of December, a day which is usually packed with action. The Premier League says the decision has been forced on them by the expansion of European competitions. You're up to date. I'll have more for you at past.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Thank you very much, Bethany. OK, now we've got one final packed hour together, so let's get cracking straight away, shall we? As the nation braces for the budget next month, it is actually this month now, it'll be here before you know it, and I bet you can't wait. It is understood that Rachel Reeves is planning to raid pension tax perks in her latest attempt to plug a hole in public finances. You know, the black hole she mentions a couple of times. The Chancellor could collect as much as $4 billion a year by restricting how much workers can put into their retirement pots under the salary sacrifice schemes. However, officials have warned it could lead to millions of average workers, that's you and me, losing hundreds of pounds. Joining us in the studio is one of my favourite political commentators. Yeah, I have to have one, and it may as well be Benedict Spence. Benedict, thank you very much for coming in. It's always good to have company in the studio because I get lonely. Benedict, it's another day. I keep waving this folder. This is Rachel Reeves' tax stories just from a week worth, to be honest with you. What do you make of the latest ones?
What do I make of the latest ones? It's just compounding more and more misery, isn't it? Just adding a little bit more on, presumably because they think, well, we're already miserable enough. What's a little bit more anxiety and pain, just on top of this burden? Look, this is going to cost the average worker on around, I think, is it 30 to 35 grand a year? They're going to lose about 200, a little bit more than £200 a year, on top of everything else that's already happening. And it's not just that. Employers will end up having to pay more as well as part of these changes. And I think they'll be losing about £250 more. So, as you can see, it's not just a change that's going to affect people who are doing the responsible thing and paying in a little bit more to save for the longer term. It's also going to impact employers as well. So you can sort of see there why it's not going to be particularly popular, because obviously all of the people who are being encouraged to do the right thing, be responsible, but also the employers who are being encouraged to give back to their employees as well. Both sides of the divide are going to be hit. And as you say, if you add this on to all the other things that we have had floated down the line, exit taxes, potentially changes around capital gains taxes, and of course the big one that's being floated, an increase in income tax. Boy, don't we all really wish we were paying a bit more income tax. It's going to be an absolutely brutal budget. And of course, juxtaposed with all of this is the potential changing of the definition of what counts as a working person. A lot of people are going to find in this next budget...
I missed that.
It's something... they're basically, I think they're wargaming what it is that they can get away with. And is it going to be somebody who earns over £45,000? Is it going to be below that? Where are the tax brackets going to fall within that? And if it, let's say, hypothetically, was £45,000, a lot of people will be sat here thinking £45,000 still sounds like quite a lot.
Yeah.
A, in London, it's not. B, because of inflation, broadly speaking, it's not for an awful lot of people. People in this country, I think, are beginning to find out just how poor they actually are and actually how much their wages don't pay for things anymore. £45,000, that includes firefighters, that includes teachers, that includes junior doctors, all sorts of people who you would not think of as particularly wealthy are going to get absolutely battered in this budget.
But as Rachel would say, she has a black hole. She needs to fill it with something. She's got to get money from somewhere.
It's real politics, isn't it? Something must be done. This is something, therefore I'm going to do it. There is another thing, of course, that this government could do, and lots of people have been saying it for a very long time, which is maybe if you're spending this much money, spend a little bit less, and then the black hole wouldn't be so big. But of course, this is a Labour government, and it cannot possibly countenance the idea of cutting spending on almost anything. And we've already, we've had the furore around the changes to personal independence payments, to benefits, for whatever you want to call it, and Labour MPs rebelling against that en masse because, of course, so many of their own constituents are on these kind of benefits. That's the problem we face. The black hole, so to speak, is only going to keep getting bigger. And if Rachel Reeves isn't going to cut any spending, well, she's going to come back in 6 months for more tax. Right?
But she does have a cunning plan, Benedict. There was a cunning plan in one of today's papers, adding to my folder of Rachel Reeves' plans, set to slash spending by up to £5 billion a year. Woo! But the cuts will only start in the next Parliament, 2029-2030.
Yep. That's great,
really
isn't it?
Gonna help.
That's going to be, given that the budget, the black hole has already expanded from, what was it, 20 billion, then it was 40 billion, then some people are saying 70 billion, who knows? Does that touch the sides, really? And next Parliament, what's the black hole going to be in the next Parliament? Is it going to be 100 billion on current trajectory? I don't see that it wouldn't be. And this is the thing. What we need is very bold leadership now when it comes to cutting government spending. It requires MPs to be brave and say, look, this is going to be very unpopular, but we can't afford to do this. And it's also not fair to be hiking taxes on working people if other people who are not working do not also share some of the burden.
And there's an increasing number of people not working under this Labour government.
Huge numbers of people aren't working under this.
Especially young people.
Yes, and it's insane. But of course, you need to then foment an environment where growth is possible. Because actually, if you've got a shortage of jobs, which we're increasingly being told we are, hundreds of people sort of applying for one or two roles and nobody actually getting a shoe in, that's because there isn't the environment for growth. Why might that be? Possibly because businesses are being taxed through the nose and they can't really afford to be expanding or investing. The other thing, of course, energy prices. We've been saying it for a very long time in this country. Energy prices are far too high, and there's only really one way of getting around that, and that's going, net zero. That has turned out to be rather expensive, hasn't it? Maybe we might want to do something about
that's so important. I mean, the World and his wife are flying to Brazil on all their private jets for COP30 to discuss us? How are we going to save the planet?
Yeah, they're doing it. It's funny enough that they're doing it right in the middle of a massive police crackdown where the authorities are shooting people in favelas. You know, really nice. It's a real emblem, a beacon of what the future could be, Brazil. But, you know, just as an aside, the fact that we have this sort of spectacle of all of these world leaders going across the world to sort of lecture us all. But the funny thing is about all of this, ultimately it seems only to be Britain that's following through with any of these things. You know, look at what's going on in China or anywhere else. They're massively ratcheting up the amount of carbon emissions that they have. Nobody else really seems to care about this. It's just us. And we think that if we're the only ones, somehow Britain will just have a little cocoon where global warming just happens to everybody else and not us. It's not how it works. Ultimately, we need, if you want to be combating climate change or whatever it is, if you think that's important, you need to invest. You need to grow. You need to develop the technologies that are going to stop it rather than just going, let's all go back to the Stone Age, because that's not going to happen.
Yeah, well, go back to living in caves or even renting a cave out, or maybe renting your home out.
But you will be charged extra tax on that
that
second
is going to happen. Now, I'm a bit worried about that charge on everybody having sex coming in at one point. But what do you make? I mean, this is not going away. This is still the ongoing debate about Rachel Reeves not being aware, forgetting, blaming the husband about the licence she should have got for renting her property out in London, which was literally advertised on buses and posters in the London Borough of Southwark, where Rachel Reeves lives.
Yeah, to be fair, what's the point in having a husband if you can't blame him for doing this sort of thing? You know, she is a very important person. She has many, many demands on her time. But the fact of the matter is, it's that the story keeps changing. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, maybe I did know, but I didn't follow up on it. What I would want to see politicians taking from this, and of course the Angela Rayner story before, is that they look at these little traps and they think, maybe life is really complicated for ordinary people. If I, the minister in charge, falls into this sort of trap, maybe ordinary people might as well. These might be alarm bells for, say, scrapping these sorts of things or saying to local authorities, don't do that, it's going to make things very difficult. Will that happen? No, of course not. They'll just apologise, try and move on and pretend it never happened.
Yeah. Integrity. We keep coming back to that word, integrity, which Keir Starmer promised us in the Rose Garden back when he started out on this journey, I think. Benedict Spence, always a delight to talk to you. Thank you very much. We covered a lot of ground there, didn't we? gbnews.com/your say. Let us know what you think about any of those subjects. Now, women's rights groups are protesting across the UK today, demanding the immediate application of the landmark Supreme Court decision. Earlier this year, the court ruled that the terms woman, man and sex in the Equality Act 2010 refer to biological sex at birth, which in practice means that transgender people have no access to the opposite sex, single-sex space, if you know what I mean. Do keep up at the back there. It's not actually that complicated. You're either a man or a woman. There, I said it. In any case, campaigners are saying that the ruling has not been applied in many areas yet. So joining me now is GB News reporter Sam Francis and GB News Scotland reporter Tony Maguire, who are covering these protests. Sam, let's come to you first. Sam, how's it going there?
Dawn, good afternoon. Yes, you join us live just outside of Downing Street, where the culmination of this women's rights and feminist activist protest has been taking place. 199 days to the day since that Supreme Court ruling was passed, defining a woman by biological sex at birth and no longer by gender identity. That means, therefore, that transgender women are excluded. Now, the women behind me, and men indeed, gathered. We'll just take a look, in fact, at some of the flags that you can see here. One stating that the definition of a woman is indeed an adult human female. Well, they are saying today that they still believe, despite the passing of that 199 days since the Supreme Court ruling, that they are angry, frustrated that there has been no movement, no change, no action by the government, by institutions, and indeed by public spaces, such as public toilets, hospitals, sports clubs and venues. And they have just been speaking here at this gathering, saying that even in prisons, they believe that the government are culpable and responsible for still locking up women with men. Now, this demonstration has been centred down here in Parliament Square, and we wandered around with this group of protesters over to a counter-protester where my colleague Connie Shaw spoke to one of the trans activists who said that this Supreme Court ruling means that trans people no longer feel safe in their own country.
The reality of the situation is that trans women, not men, trans women and other trans people are not predators. The statistics show us over and over again that trans women are not predators.
But isn't it 2/3 of trans women in prison have been convicted of at least one sex offence? What do you say to that?
That statistic is misleading. That is sexual crime. A lot of that is things like sex work. It is not sex predators.
Well, as you can hear there, this ruling from the Supreme Court and the 199 days that have now passed is causing some real division between both pro and anti-campaigners gathering here today. I believe we can, in fact, show you some footage that we took earlier this morning as the counter-protesters began to gather. There was a slight scuffle with police. You can just about make out there one of the protesters being arrested. So far, we believe just one counter-protester from those trans activists arrested after they took or attacked one of the other broadcasters' camera equipment at that protest. And it is worth also noting some aggressive approach online from the trans activists, saying on a social media post, and I quote here, that they say, "Don't talk to police, bring a mask and bring your rage to today's protests." So a quite stark difference between the approach of both campaign groups today. But I believe we can now cross over to Tony Maguire, who's in Scotland, where another protest is also taking place today, marking these 199 days.
Where you are.
Yeah, good afternoon. Well, we're here in Edinburgh, you know, and as we've been discussing today, 199 days since that Supreme Court decision, and it sounds like it's a bit different here in Edinburgh because there's about a 200-metre void between the women's rights campaigners and pro-trans group campaigners. But as we've seen, you know, we've tried to engage with some of the people here. Not many of them fans of the channel, as you might imagine, but what we've been just trying to do here is, this is very much still a kind of a two-team issue. There's very much a real sense of really despair from a lot of the trans rights activists who feel the Supreme Court decision was not the right decision, and that, of course, this has actually been a downgrade of their rights. Now, we heard earlier from the women's rights campaigners, and of course, among them was actually one of the journalists from the Byline Times, you know, and it was a bit of an odd interaction. We heard there from Sam about what some of the instructions were about don't engage with police and covering the face, you know, and that journalist for the Byline Times was writing down her responses for the police. But as we can see here, there's a lot of flags and there's a lot of passion. I think it's worth to say on both sides here, you know, and this has been rumbling on for so long in Scotland, the issue since the Gender Recognition Reform Bill, that this isn't even really so much about right or wrong anymore. This is very much about just core beliefs and rights, and very much both sides here. We've got lots more flags. They're not particularly keen on cameras or photographers seeing what's going on in the protest here or anywhere. Very many of them swarmed with the flags, but right the way along we can see people who are trying to share their views and talk to people. But of course this is all really down because 199 days ago that Supreme Court decision was made, and since that time there haven't been any movements. We've had some guidance updates for schools but nothing for prisons, and hardly anything at all for NH Health Board. So women are over at the other side of the Parliament Square trying to get the Scottish Government to get moving.
Tony, thank you very much. That's GBNews Scotland reporter Tony Maguire there for her in Edinburgh at the women's protest. The one thing I always want to ask is, if you feel you're on the side of right and your campaign is one that we should be listening to and we should be listening to your voices, why are you wearing masks? Why are you covering your faces? I didn't see any women there talking about the rights of women for their single-sex bases wearing a mask. Did you? Any case. We will be going back to that later on throughout the day to see, bring you any updates on that one. But let's talk about Christmas, shall we? It is November, why not? It's never too early to think about the festive season, is it? And how would you like to have one of your best Christmas ever on us? That's right. We're giving away £40,000 in tax-free cash to have the Christmas of your dreams, as £1,000 to spend on a luxurious Christmas lunch and a Christmas-themed GB News goodie bag under the tree. We wonder what's in that. All the best news, and you get it all the time for the big day. Here's all the details you need for the festive winner.
We're giving you the chance to win your entire Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck indeed. OK, I'm Dawn Newsroom. This is GB News. There's loads more coming up on today's absolutely packed show. A key government review of the national curriculum recommends all schools should have to teach physics, chemistry and biology separately at GCSE to help boost social mobility. So no more of that combined sciences malarkey. Stay tuned to find out more about that story, but after the break. Andy, formerly known as Prince, has had his royal title stripped and being kicked out of Royal Lodge House. But reports this morning also suggesting he could be in line for a 6-figure payout. All of that and much more to come. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. Don't go too far. I'll see you soon.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to The Weekend with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you so much for your company this Saturday afternoon. Now, Andy, formerly known as Prince, as I'm calling him from here on in, could be in line for a large one-off payment and even annual money to keep him overspending in his new life as a commoner. A new poll shows that an overwhelming majority of Brits, 79% of us, back the King's decision to strip his brother of those titles. Meanwhile, the government says it has no plans to pass a law removing Andy from the line of succession, meaning he's still technically, well, it could be king. But could taxpayers really be footing the bill for the fallen royal and should be entitled to be anywhere near that crown? Joining me now is royal broadcaster Helena Chard. Helena, good to see you. I mean, Helena, lots of people are messaging today and saying, oh, my God, why are you still talking about Andy? It is a witch hunt. Leave the man alone. Tell people why we are still talking about Andy.
Oh, my word. This is such an unprecedented, extraordinary time. I mean, honestly, I know King Charles is desperately trying to stem the flow of public fury over the alleged, I'm about to say Prince Andrew, it's very hard, Andrew scandal. I mean, he's trying to future-proof the monarchy, that's for sure. And we know that he's been evicted from Royal Lodge and he's going to be moving. I mean, he's initiated so much, you know, he's lost his styles, titles and honours, and he's called Andrew Mountbatten Windsor now. Now, the formal notice to surrender his lease, I think it's become as a surprise to everyone, and he obviously is just going to be banished. People are in uproar as he's due a six-figure amount of money back for giving up the lease. However, I do think that is just going to go to doing up the property. As we know, it's in rack and ruins and very, very damp. So that is not going to happen. The line of succession, I mean, obviously he's eighth in line. And it would, but, you know, there's people saying, oh, you've got to take this away from him. But, you know, there would have to be an enormous catastrophe in order for him to take that. So I don't know, it's a complex, isn't it? To remove it is hugely complex. And I know that obviously MPs are pressing Parliament, Sir Keir Starmer, to take that action. But it is a huge amount of, you know, work for Parliament to consent. I mean, every realm of the Commonwealth would have to consent. So that's like 56 nations. I think at the moment he's doing completely the right thing, King Charles, and there, you know, he's just completely blackening the royal family's good work. And I think also, I'm just thinking of everything. And the wonderful thing that's very different as well is Their Majesties stating that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and always will be with the victims, survivors of any and all forms of abuse. Queen Camilla, Duchess of Edinburgh, I mean, their work, I can't imagine what they're feeling at the moment. A huge amount of their work is raising awareness around sexual abuse and violence, and this is completely clouding their work. We have Prince William that's going to be going out to Rio, we've got the Earthshot Prize. You know, there's just so much happening, and there's the royal family's being heckled. Is this going to draw a line in the sand? We're hoping that things can be sorted behind closed doors. Obviously, more and more revelations are coming out day by day. This is hopefully Andrew will have to sit and wait to see what happens. But I do hope that the royal family can continue. But obviously, the public are up in arms, but the whole Andrew scenario has really just opened up a can of worms, because people are circling and wanting to know more and more about certain things within the royal family. They're wanting more transparency. And I think it's going to be very hard to stop people looking into things. But let's hope. I'm feeling positive. I am feeling positive, and I feel that it is, you know, is future-proofing the monarchy. And I just, I'm positive that things are going to go very well.
Lovely.
But as
Helena, we've run out of time, unfortunately. Thank you so much for joining us. That's royal broadcaster Helen Chard there. Thank you very much. Hopefully explaining to many of you are getting in touch Why are you talking about Andrew? It's a witch hunt to get Andrew. Well, as Helena pointed out, there are victims in this, OK? Andrew's denied any wrongdoing, of course, but his links to Jeffrey Epstein, which he lied about, there are questions to be asked, and that is what journalism does. We ask the questions. OK, I'm Dawn Neeson, this is GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. A sea of more than 10,000 handmade poppies will soon cascade from the tower of St Mary's Church in Battle, marking 80 years since the end of the Second World War. I'll be joined by project leader later on in the show. But first, yeah, it's time for the news headlines again with Bethany. Here she is.
Windsor to give evidence before a powerful US congressional committee about his links to the paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein, just days after the King stripped him of his royal titles. The first charter flight carrying British citizens back from Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa is set to take off today. Around 8,000 Britons are thought to have been on the island when it was hit. Protesters are gathering at locations across the UK demanding the immediate application of the Supreme Court ruling to protect single-sex public spaces. Police have separated counter-protesters to avoid rising tensions. And the Red Cross has transferred the remains of 3 people from Gaza to Israel, but authorities there say they don't belong to any of the missing hostages. Those are the headlines for now. More for you at the top of the hour.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Thank you very much, Bethany. Now, remember, let me know your thoughts on all the stories we're discussing today by visiting gbnews.com/yoursay and join in the conversation. Lots of you are saying, please, no more Andrew, no more Andrew. What about the rape gams? Why aren't we talking about that? Well, I mean, we are talking about all the stories, but this story is on the front of your newspapers. We are talking about it because it is important to this country constitutionally. But we will be moving on, I promise you that. OK, there's lots more coming up on today's show. Yeah, a key government review of the national curriculum recommends all schools should have to teach physics, chemistry and biology separately at GCSE to help boost social mobility, you know, for us poorer kids. So no more combined sciences. I didn't do combined sciences. I have no idea what it is. So stay tuned to find out more about that one. All of that and much more to come. I'm Dawn Neeson. This is GB News and plenty more coming up. See you soon.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. To start off November, it is quite a changeable and mixed theme. We do have low pressure up towards the northwest of the UK, bringing a slightly unsettled genre throughout this weekend. Lots of isobars on the chart here indicating some quite blustery winds for much of the UK. Some spells of rain at times, particularly for the Northern Isles throughout much of today. Elsewhere across the UK, the rain will be a touch more showery in nature, so there will still be some brighter interludes in between. But some of these showers, particularly across Wales, southwest England later on today, could turn quite heavy with some hail, maybe some thunder in the mixture as well. Generally, though, the further east you are, parts of northeastern England and eastern Scotland, getting away with the best of that sunshine. Temperatures today generally peaking around 10-11 degrees Celsius for Scotland and Northern Ireland. Further towards the south, we'll be climbing towards highs of 13 to maybe 15 degrees Celsius. However, with those blustery winds, it is going to be feeling a touch cooler than that when you do eventually step outside. Further showers will be pushing their way in from west to east as we head throughout this evening. Still a few clearer spells around at times, but into tonight, a more persistent band of rain will be sweeping its way eastwards. Again, this could turn heavy at times with some hail and thunder possible as well. Underneath some of the clearer skies, temperatures will drop down into single figures overnight, but with the cloud, the rain and the breeze still in play, there shouldn't be too much in the way of frost as we start off Sunday morning. That band of rain will take its time to clear off southeast England during Sunday morning, so do be aware of quite a wet start here, and further frequent showers will push into northwestern Scotland later on in the day. Again, quite heavy at times, this time with some coastal gales as well. Temperatures generally a notch down compared to today, around 10 to 13 degrees Celsius as our highs. That unsettled theme is going to be continuing as we head into next week, but it will be turning notably milder as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Lordy, lordy, what are you lot like today? But keep those messages coming in, gbnews.com/your say. I'll read as many out as I can. And meanwhile, I'm responding to a load as well. I'm Dawn Neeson, and this is The Weekend, just in case you need reminding. Now, Science GCSE is to get the biggest overhaul in over a decade, as all schools in England will be required to teach each science separately. The curriculum review, commissioned by Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson, aims to improve opportunities for students from lower socio-economic backgrounds. Working class kids, if you like. That's fewer than a quarter of pupils in England currently sit physics, chemistry and biology separately, with most taking combined science, which is equivalent to only 2 GCSEs. The report's findings show that more children from affluent areas take separate sciences, leading to higher A-level uptake and lucrative careers. Joining me now is the chairman of a campaign for real education and former head teacher, Chris McGovern. Chris, good to see you. Now, I'm old enough and ugly enough to remember when everybody for O-level, remember those, did biology, chemistry and physics as separate subjects. I didn't even know they combined them, but that shows I've not been paying attention. This, to me, sounds like a really good idea.
It's a great idea, and I'm 100% in favour. It's like motherhood and apple pie. We're all in favour of it, but it's going to be very difficult, Dawn, to actually introduce because we don't have the teachers. We have a massive shortage, in particular, of physics teachers. Nearly two-thirds of youngsters doing GCSE science, and including physics, are taught by non-specialist physics teachers. And if you're taught by a non-specialist, you're twice as likely to drop the subject and not go into A-level. So it's a bit of a crisis, actually. So, yeah, we're all in favour. But my goodness, we've got a real problem in recruiting teachers. And even those teachers we do recruit, the physics teachers who are recruited, half of them leave within 5 years. Because these days, Dawn, when you go to become a teacher, what's important is not knowing your physics or your chemistry or your biology. It's what are your views on diversity, equality, and so on. You know, never mind what your views are on physics. What are your views on racial diversity and gender identity? That's what teacher training colleges are interested in. That's what schools are interested in. So look, it's important. It's excellent news. I don't think it's going to happen very readily.
So why has Bridget announced it? I mean, if she knows, I mean, she's Education Secretary, surely she must understand how difficult the system is at the moment. Why has she announced it, knowing that we don't simply have enough teachers to teach it?
Well, the trouble is, there's a problem there, and she must recognise that. But there's a report being written. At the moment, almost as we talk, and going on for the past several months, there's a working party rewriting the national curriculum to fit in with the government's ideas. And so probably next week, maybe a little bit later, there's going to be a report on the Education Secretary's desk, and it's going to say, yeah, we need to teach physics, chemistry and biology, or offer it to everybody. It's not that everybody's got to do all those three, but it's got to be offered to everybody. Currently, there are some schools where you can't even do those 3 subjects. You can only do 2.
As I said, I am old enough to remember you had to do the 3 and then you dropped 2 and you had to do 1 for your O-level, as they were back in the day. Obviously, I took biology because it was viewed as the easier one. When did we stop doing that?
No, well, we stopped doing it, really, back in the late 80s. I mean, I was the person who led a sort of almost a sole national campaign to say, you know, why are we getting rid of O-levels? O-levels were the grammar school exam, and they were pretty tough. What the government wanted to do at those days, it was Conservative government, which actually I advised, but they didn't take my advice. They want an exam everybody could do for the comprehensive school. So we made the O-level illegal, but we still, by the way, we still make it here, Dawn, but we sell it to Singapore. In Singapore, they take O-level. And whereas Singapore in the international league tables for performance, they're top. They're top of the world. So we got rid of the more demanding exam, introduced this GCSE. Now it's all going wrong, and they're having to water it down and so forth. We've got a real problem in education. I wish we could talk more about it. I wish MPs would take it seriously, because if you want to see our economy in 20 years' time, look at our education system today. Don't worry too much about the budget. Look at the education system, because that's where we're heading.
And surely, Chris, it is so important, in particular the sciences, with the way our lives are becoming so technical now. We are depending so much on the sciences moving forward. All kids need to be studying this properly.
Yeah, I mean, science is fundamental. Science and maths, I mean, those are crucial subjects. And if necessary, I'll speak some heresy now and say, well, actually, if there's a shortage of physics teachers, maths teachers, we need to pay them more, because we do need good people to come into the profession. Unfortunately, the profession is not just about teaching you subjects. It's about doing other things. You know, it's about being a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a social worker. It's pretty tough being a teacher. And I taught for 35 years, so I should know. It's a pretty tough job. And trying to get physicists in is quite hard. So, look, we're going to have to pay them more. We don't have a choice in this, by the way, because if you look to the Asia-Pacific, which is where the boom economies are, Singapore, China, Japan, Taiwan, these places, South Korea, they're miles ahead. They're about 3 years ahead by the age of 15. Not least in science, and we are not doing well. Although the government will tell you, or the Conservatives will tell you, oh, well, since 2010, science standards have improved. But what they won't tell you, but go back to the year 2000. Look at them then. Look at the international scores then, because we were doing better in the year 2000 than we're doing now. It's bad.
Chris, in almost every subject I talk about on these shows at the moment, I constantly come up against the fact that politicians, not even a political point, politicians of all parties, put their careers, politics and political correctness before the actual lives of ordinary people. And in this case, with education, it is so important. It's enough to make you want to bang your head against a brick wall.
It's true, and you know, in the House of Commons, when the education debate comes up, the Commons tends to empty or half or three-quarters empty. Politicians are looking for tomorrow, not looking for 20 years ahead, not looking for the longer term. It really is time we looked after our children. And you know, and I've said it many times before, particularly the white working class, the immigrant population do very well. We should celebrate their success. They're top of the class. But white working class kids in particular, they're doing badly. And it's in those poorer areas of the country where there's a real shortage of physics teachers and science teachers. So we've got to have a revolution in education. And we're nowhere near that. And politicians really aren't that interested in the long term and not really putting the children first. It's disastrous.
It's stupid beyond belief, but that's what you get for having a bad education system. Chris, thank you very much. That's our campaign for real education and former head teacher Chris McGovern there. Chris, thank you very much. I thought that made perfect common sense. What do you think? gbnews.com/your say. What are we doing to our kids' education? I'm Dawn Newsome. This is GB News, and there's lots more coming up on today's show. Poppies, I love this. A sea of more than 10,000 handmade poppies will soon cascade from the tower of St Mary's Church in Battle, marking 80 years since the end of the Second World War. I'll be joined by the project leader later on this show. But if you are in church of some holiday sun, here is a forecast for those top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Looking across the southern parts of Europe, and whilst many areas are going to be mostly fine tomorrow, there is a bit of rain around. Across parts of Greece, it's going to be fairly wet, especially towards the west. Also a bit of rain pushing into far northern parts of Italy, some snow over the higher ground. Southern parts of France looking pretty wet as well. And whilst much of Spain and Portugal's looking generally fine tomorrow, as we go into the beginning of next week, there will be some wet weather pushing into western parts of Iberia. See you later.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast.
every day from 6 a.m.
The Daily Mail are going on a headline, woke gardens to tackle absenteeism, and stop asking people's questions, it makes them anxious. Now, of course it makes you anxious.
It's your job.
Yeah, so I mean, I get what they're going, and it's very easy to go with the popular view here. But I think they're not saying all pupils. They're asking to take into account that there may be, in certain sets of the classes, neurodivergent people, autistic, for whom it does make it up. So I do work with children who've been in care, and sometimes I've got people in the room who are autistic, and because I'm energetic and stuff, I've got to be very careful how I approach them. So sometimes, if I'm asking a question, I won't even look.
But Chris, I don't think that you can break up. You can sit and say, well, we've got Dawn, better not ask her that. Chris, I can't ask him this. And whatever. You know, you can't keep differentiating and cutting things up like that. I think you have to relook at what teachers are expected to do.
I think if we're preparing children for the outside world, we have to be tougher with them than we are. Now, you can't wrap them up in cotton wool. The world does not revolve around them. They have to toughen up, sorry.
So, and you will be asked questions in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. So are you saying then exclude them from the classroom so that you can concentrate on the main body?
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. I mean, okay. That might be a solution. Well, so you go back to having schools that cater for.
You see, when people say questions make you anxious. Yes, I was anxious.
Yeah, we all are. I was anxious. I was anxious when I went to the track, and as a World Cup athlete, I was still anxious when you go to the final. Yeah, we get that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the weekend with me, Dawn Newsroom. It's our final few minutes together, but thank you for being with me. I've loved it. Now, time to end this story on a really lovely story. Volunteers in Battle have created 10,000 handmade poppies, which form part of a remembrance celebration. The poppies create a waterfall effect and took 10 months of work to complete. The display will remain in place for the first 2 weeks of November. Joining me now is the project leader at St Mary's Church Battle, Angie Duckett. Angie, good to see you. I absolutely love this story. We've talking about so much bad, sad and mad stuff today, but this is wonderful. Tell me more about what's going on.
Well, thanks for having me on, Dawn. It's very exciting. As you said, we've been working on this for 10 months, and you can see behind me, we have just launched the poppy installation. It's been amazing. We've had a bugler, we've had a drummer, we've had the cadets, we've had veterans, we've had all sorts of people. And really, it's been an incredible community effort. We've had all sorts of organisations. We've had young children knit poppies and crochet them. We've had adults with special needs who have made incredible poppies, and you can see it floating softly in the breeze behind me. Goes all the way up the bell tower, 21 metres high, and it's been an incredible community effort.
It looks absolutely beautiful. So the poppies that we can see, are they all knitted, or are they other sort of like crafts going on?
They are knitted, felted and crocheted, and even some of our adults with special needs pushed the boat out and did something different. We've got all sorts of different poppies, and what I love about it is each one is unique, just as every person who lost their life in the war was unique and special. It's a wonderful testimony to all the lives lost and those lives affected by the Second World War.
That's absolutely lovely. And what was the idea behind it? Who came up with the idea, Angie?
We had a parishioner here at St Mary's Church Battle who dropped the idea into my mind in about December last year. On the 1st of January, I put out an appeal to our wonderful community in Battle asking them not to shoot me for mentioning Remembrance Sunday and Christmas on the 1st of January. But they're actually, everybody's risen to the occasion. And as you can see behind me, each poppy is beautifully unique and lovingly crafted, and many, many, many volunteer hours sewing and tying them on.
And Angie, what happens? I mean, the display is going to be there for 2 weeks, I understand, until Remembrance Sunday, after Remembrance Sunday. What happens after that?
Well, I think we'll have the challenge of drying it out and storing it somewhere nice and dry, and then we'll put it away for next year. And we've just had one of our lovely volunteers say, can we go bigger and better next year? And I said, maybe we'll talk about that another time when when we've recovered from this one. But there's been a huge turnout today to see it go up, and we're very, very grateful to everybody who's helped.
Angie, and I'm very grateful for you joining me today, and what a wonderful thing. Thank you very much. That is Angie Duckett there from St Mary's Church in Battle. Well, I've been Dawn Neeson. This has been GB News. Thank you so much for your company. I always absolutely love it. I'm back tomorrow at lunchtime, but don't you dare go anywhere, because the wonderful Nana is up next, and she's always got a brilliant show. Here she is.
Thank you, Dawn. Well, good afternoon to you. Now, we have a very busy show. Of course, today there are protests all over the country. The whole trans row is still going ahead despite the Supreme Court ruling that biology trumps gender or any other ideology. What on earth is going on? How come we're back here? And let's not forget loads of other things going on today. I said let's not forget, she's totally forgotten where she's going. But look, we've got our veteran stories. I've got a veteran who'll be joining me telling his story. He fought in the Bosnian War. He experienced high levels of PTSD. It is time. He will be on the way in the studio giving us his story. Loads of that to come. But first, let's get an update with your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, a very good afternoon to you. This is your GB News weather update provided by the Met Office. This first weekend of November is quite a blustery one for many of us. There's a lot of isobars on the pressure charts, courtesy of low pressure being very close by. This small-scale feature for the Northern Isles is providing quite a lot of rain today. That will eventually clear off as we head into this evening, but there are further scattered showers pushing across elsewhere. And a weather front moving eastwards into tonight will provide some slightly heavier pulses of rain across many areas. This could produce some hail and maybe even some thunder in the mixture as well. If you hold on to some of the clearer skies around, temperatures will drop down into single figures overnight, but with the breeze in play, there won't be too much frost as we do start off Sunday morning. However, our rain band will take some time to eventually clear off during Sunday morning, so do be prepared, particularly across southeastern England, for quite a wet start to the day here. A few brighter spells beginning to emerge elsewhere as we kick off Sunday morning, but we've got frequent showers pushing into northwest and Scotland. Again, these could be heavy at times and actually coming with some coastal gales for around Lewis and Harris and the Highlands as well. It will still be a breezy day elsewhere as well, but there will be a touch more sunshine poking its way through. And so if you manage to get out in some of those sunnier spells, it will feel like a reasonably okay autumnal day at least. Temperatures, though, are going to be a touch down compared to where we've seen them today, so slightly cooler overall, ranging between 10 and 13 degrees Celsius. As we head into the evening, we're going to see cloud building across Northern Ireland on Sunday. This will be producing some longer spells of rain, and that will steadily spread its way across all areas of the UK as we head into Monday. And generally next week, we are going to be holding on to that unsettled